Chapter 17, 80, One Going Back to Take a Look. In the lineage of Star, someone sent a message to Jian Wushuang the moment he came out of the Star Palace Master's Cave. The person who sent him a message was King Gu Tong. Jian Wushuang, I heard that you have already gotten into the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list of the human territories. Congratulations, King Gu Tong said. Human territories and the territories of special clans were completely separated. For example, the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list of the human territories only had human experts in it. As for the experts of the special clans, they were not in it. Of course, the most important thing was that there were very few interactions between human territories and the territories of special clans. King Gu Tong was a 7-star royal ancient god, and was a person who was highly respected. Hence, he had some knowledge regarding the human territories. Naturally, he knew about the matter where Jian Wushuang had gotten into the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. King Gu Tong, what is the progress of the recovery of your abilities? Jian Wushuang replied with a laugh. Comparing abilities, his current abilities were stronger than those of King Gu Tong. Thus, he could naturally communicate with King Gu Tong on equal footing. I have more or less recovered. Moreover, after a short while, I will be going for 8-star ancient god, King Gu Tong said. Oh, Jian Wushuang's expression changed. An 8-star ancient god was equivalent to the level of a human emperor god. Furthermore, King Gu Tong was a royal ancient god. As soon as he made a breakthrough, his abilities would be out of the ordinary. Congratulations, Jian Wushuang said. Let's not talk about that now. I have contacted you because of a certain matter. King Gu Tong's voice turned serious. Since you are already one of the top experts of the human territories, you should know about the news of the ancient mystery land appearing soon, right? Yes, I just got to know it. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. The ancient mystery land has a huge implication. To special clans like us, it is extremely attractive. Hence, some of the experts of my ancient god clan, as well as a few other top special clans, will be going there to travel. Moreover, back then, I told you that the space crack that leads to the battlefield that your hometown is in the ancient mystery land. King Gu Tong said. Jian Wushuang's eyes and expression turned grave immediately. When he had encountered King Gu Tong in the ancient god sanctuary in the past, he got to know that King Gu Tong had gone to the battlefield that his hometown was at via the space crack of a special mystery land. King Gu Tong has said before that the space crack is extremely well hidden. Back then, he found it by chance. Apart from him, no one else in the whole eternal chaotic world should know about the existence of that space crack. However, now that the ancient mystery land is about to open, there is no guarantee that the space crack will not be found by someone, Jian Wushuang murmured. The space crack was a huge hidden trouble. If someone were to find it and spread the news of it, a great number of experts would definitely rush to the battlefield that his hometown was at. By then, it would be extremely troublesome. Jian Wushuang, I am merely telling you this so that you can take some precautions. However, you need not worry. After so many years, the ancient mystery land has opened so many times. In the end, I am the only person who has gone to the mystery land where your hometown is before. Even if other people wanted to go, they might not be so lucky as to come across it by chance, King Gu Tong said. All right, thank you very much for telling me this. Jian Wushuang thanked him and cut the transmission. In the Milky Way, Jian Wushuang heaved a light sigh of relief. I hope no one discovers the existence of the space crack when the ancient mystery land opens this time around. If they were to really find it by accident, a great number of experts will descend upon the battlefield in my hometown. By then, I would at most give away all the resources of the battlefield. It will be all right as long as I can keep the green fire world. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists tightly. He had made up his mind. After knowing that, Jian Wushuang did not delay any further, and he made preparations to return to his hometown right away. However, this time around, Jian Wushuang did not plan to return alone. In a star in the boundless Milky Way, the star was a huge, open space, and it was used especially for duels. At that moment, two figures were fighting one another in the open space. One of them was holding a giant axe with both his hands. Towering axe shadows were being unleashed in succession, and they were like tide water which came forth in a steady flow. The towering axe shadows filled the universe and caused many disciples who were observing the battle by the side to exclaim in admiration. However, while facing the axe shadows which were heading toward him, the young man who held a sword in his hands unleashed many strokes one by one randomly. Although it looked simple and random, he managed to block all the axe shadows easily. Moreover, the sword essences had forced his opponent into an unusually miserable state. After just a short while, the disciple holding the giant axe was defeated. "You have lost." Hishio's voice was cold, and he wore an indifferent smile. As for the disciple who he had defeated, he forced a smile. He had already given his all by unleashing all his tricks. However, he had still been defeated by Hishio easily. Too strong. Senior brother, Hishio is really too strong. Among universe gods of the third heaven like us, Senior brother by Hao is considered one of the top 3. Similarly, he has the right to get into the universe god ranking list. However, in Senior brother Hishio's hands, there is no room for him to struggle at all. When Senior brother Hishio fought with him, he defeated him easily without even unleashing his unique skills and sword principles. These are the fighting capabilities of the top 10 on the Universe God ranking list. No wonder countless hall masters valued him highly, and he was accepted as a registered disciple. Currently, no one among the disciples of the lineage of Star is more talented than Senior brother Hishio. Registered disciple? Why have I heard that he is a lineal disciple? Many disciples in the Star were having a discussion. As for Hishio, he was not concerned with those comments, and he was about to leave. All of a sudden, a message was sent to him. "Master is looking for me?" Hishio's expression changed, and he headed to the Sword Star without hesitation. In a vast hall in the Sword Star, Jian Wushuang was sitting on the throne, which was at the highest point. Although he was not emitting any aura, the invisible pressure that he exerted was still enough to make chaotic real gods shiver with fear. In the big hall, Qiu Yu, who had already become a real god and had gotten herself established among the void real gods, was standing quietly. In no time, a shadow rushed over. "Greetings to Master." Hishio bowed respectfully. "You may get up." Jian Wushuang waved his hands, and Hishio got up right away. "I heard that you got into the 9th position of the Universe God ranking list 300 years ago. Jian Wushuang was looking down at his disciple. "That's right," Hishio answered. "However, that was 300 years ago. For the past 300 years, with the aid of the Real God Hall, my abilities have risen considerably. Hence, I am confident that I can get into the top 5 of the Universe God ranking list now." "Oh, not bad." Jian Wushuang praised him and nodded his head. With regards to his disciple Hishio, who he had accepted in the holy kingdom of real Wushu, Jian Wushuang was quite satisfied. In particular, for the past 7,000 years, ever since he had come to the lineage of Star, he had improved greatly. He was already the number 1 among the disciples of the lineage of Star. Moreover, he was ranked 9th on the Universe God ranking list, and he had a great reputation in the eternal chaotic world. Chapter 1782 Descend, Snow Kingdom. Hearing Jian Wushuang's compliment, Hishio clenched his hand, but didn't get carried away. He knew his master's capability. In terms of the improvement that he had made over the years, he was naturally much better than an ordinary genius. However, if he were to compare himself with his master, he was far behind. They were not at the same level at all. Xiu had always treated his master as his goal. In the hall, Jian Wushuang looked down at Xiu and Qiuyu. Today, I called the two of you over to inform you that I will make a trip back to my hometown for a while. As for how long, I have no idea. So, I am giving you two a choice. If you are willing, you may head back with me, Jian Wushuang said. I am your maidservant. Wherever Mr. goes, I will naturally follow, Qiuyu replied without hesitation. As for Xiu, he kept quiet for a while, then he nodded heavily. I am willing to follow master anywhere. Then Jian Wushuang smiled. Actually, he could have returned to his hometown alone, but it was inevitable that he would run into some trouble along the way. Because of his identity, he naturally couldn't just take action hastily. Hence, it'd be best if one or two persons of the highest position followed him. Qiuyu was his maidservant, and Xiu was his disciple. They could be said to be the two closest people to him. Jian Wushuang, of course, chose to bring the two of them. If so, let's depart now. On that day itself, Jian Wushuang left Starland. He took his ancient spaceship and traveled to the direction of his hometown, Greenfire World. Back when Jian Wushuang had come to the 10 sanctuaries from Greenfire World, he had spent a total of a few thousand years there. Along the way, he had come across countless hardships, and he nearly died a few times. Then the threats and dangerous places along the way were almost non-existent before an expert with fighting power of an emperor god. The spaceship that Jian Wushuang was on constantly traveled at a terrifying speed. In less than 100 years' time, he arrived at Snow Kingdom. Snow Kingdom was the first holy kingdom that Jian Wushuang had stepped foot on after arriving in Eternal Chaotic World. The Holy Kingdom was much further from the 10 sanctuaries in the core of Eternal Chaotic World. It was located in a remote area. Hence, the experts weren't as many as in the Holy Kingdoms closer to the sanctuaries. The Holy Kingdoms closer to the 10 sanctuaries, such as Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu and Jiogong Holy Kingdom, had dozens or even hundreds of real gods. However, there were only over 10 real gods in Holy Kingdom. As for the monarch of the Snow Kingdom, he was only an ordinary chaotic real god. There were 2 places in Snow Kingdom where they nurtured geniuses. One was Universe God Palace, and the other was Snow Dojo. At first, the 2 genius campsites in Snow Kingdom were evenly matched. However, there had been some changes in recent years. In a lofty palace in Snow Dojo, over 10 golden deacons of Snow Dojo gathered there, and they were standing in groups of 2 to 3 as they chattered. It could be seen that the faces of the golden deacons weren't great. Lost. Snow Dojo lost the ranking battle again. Like the previous term, all 3 ranking battles were won by Universe God Palace. Sigh, we were defeated so badly. I reckon the outside world sees Snow Dojo as a laughingstock now. No choice. We have lost 4 terms continuously, and we lost all 3 battles for 4 terms. It is a crushing defeat. We are both genius campsites of Snow Kingdom, but Universe God Palace suppressed us Snow Dojo so badly. All these years, the geniuses and experts that Snow Dojo raised were far behind Universe God Palace. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom is already unhappy with us. For the 10 ranking battle that took place in the past 100,000 years, Snow Dojo only won once, and it was won with the assistance of a genius that we invited at the last moment. The genius wasn't brought up by Snow Dojo. With such achievements, how do we face the monarch of the Snow Kingdom? The ranking battle between Snow Dojo and Universe God Palace only happened every once in 10,000 years. In the ranking battles for the past few years, Snow Dojo had suffered crushing defeat. Then, there was suddenly a figure that substantiated at the uppermost throne in the hall. The moment the person appeared, his real god aura spread across. Everyone in the hall immediately stood in humble reverence, looking at the cold-looking man who was raging in anger. Everyone kept quiet. Rubbish, a bunch of rubbish. Master of Silence Gloriette cursed angrily. 4 terms of ranking battle continuously. Every term has 3 battles. There are a total of 12 battles, and you lost all 12. You could have just won 1. With such battle achievement, how will we of Snow Dojo be worthy of all the resources provided by the monarch? Master of Silence Gloriette reprimanded, and the golden deacons below lowered their heads in embarrassment. Looking at how the golden deacons behaved, the Master of Silence Gloriette got even more furious. Listen up, the monarch already said that he will give us another chance. If Snow Dojo were to lose the next ranking battle again, it wouldn't be necessary for us to exist. The moment he said that, the golden deacons were shocked. Not necessary for us to exist. Does it mean that they're going to close down Snow Dojo? In the future, Snow Kingdom will only have Universe God Palace? How can it be? There's someone who exclaimed. Why? Now, you're panicking? What did you do then? Master of Silence Gloriette glared at the golden deacons under him. Then he sighed. Forget it. The genius disciples in Snow Dojo are failing, and that has to do with me too. It's hard for me to absolve myself from the blame. Now, I won't force you, but let me clarify this. If you want Snow Dojo to continue to exist, please give your all for the next 10,000 years. Regardless of the method, you must nurture disciples who are more outstanding than Universe God Palace. Yes, the golden deacons nodded heavily. Very soon, everyone was dismissed. There was only Master of Silence Gloriette left on the throne alone, and he sighed. Then in Snow Kingdom, outside Snow's sacred world, there was an ancient spaceship that was moving over slowly. There were 3 figures in the spaceship cabin. Mr., according to star map that I have, in front should be where Snow Kingdom is located. Is Mr.'s hometown here? Qiuyu asked. No, Jian Wushuang shook his head. My hometown is in a small eternal world, but not this holy kingdom. The reason why I came here was to see some old friends. Jian Wushuang had stayed in Snow's sacred land for a while. He had even joined Snow Dojo, and he still carried the identity of a disciple of Snow Dojo. Chapter 1783, little kid. After just a short while, an ancient spaceship descended in the Snow sacred land. After descending, Jian Wushuang's frightening soul power spread through the area right away, and almost the whole Snow sacred land was covered by it. At the same time, many higher-ups of the Snow sacred land became alarmed straight away. A great number of figures then flew over from all directions and came to the edge of the Snow sacred land. Among the people who had come, there were many experts from the Snow Dojo and Universe God Palace where many geniuses were gathered. Moreover, there were some experts from the top clans in the Snow sacred land. In addition, quite a number of the Snow Kingdom's imperial family had come. At that moment, the large number of cultivators raised their heads, and they were looking at the ancient silver spaceship in front of them with a great amount of shock. Too frightening. This spaceship is really too frightening. What a frightening aura. I feel that if this spaceship were to collide with something, many seals of the Snow sacred land would probably be useless. Whose spaceship is this? Many cultivators present were gasping in admiration. They had gotten information that a strong spaceship had descended. Hence, they hurried over right away. Master, your abilities are powerful. Have you seen such a frightening spaceship before? Among the crowd of people, a golden deacon from the Snow Dojo questioned the Master of Silence Gloriette. I have never seen this before. The Master of Silence Gloriette shook his head, and he was extremely terrified. In actual fact, this silver spaceship had been obtained by Jian Wushuang from the Qian Kuan Ring of the Soaring Heaven King Palaces, Sir God Qi Shing, after killing him. To date, this was the best spaceship that Jian Wushuang had come into contact with, and it was worth no less than 10,000 doctrine gems. Not only was the spaceship's speed of traveling in the dark void shocking, it had powerful attack moves. Even if it were a simple collision, a chaotic real god would not be able to bear the impact. Hence, this spaceship could turn a mere snow sacred land into pieces by crashing into it. At that moment, a big group of people was rushing over from afar, and the person in front was a golden-robed man, who was 2 meters tall. It's the monarch! Even the monarch is alarmed. Many cultivators present revealed a respectful expression. When the monarch of the Snow Kingdom came to the crowd, he saw the ancient silver spaceship, which was floating in front right away. This spaceship, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom, revealed a fearful expression. After that, he cupped one of his hands in the other before his chest, and his loud voice resounded across the universe. I am the monarch of the Snow Kingdom. I am not sure which friend of mine has come, but I request to have an audience with you. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom got off his high horse. After his words spread, 3 shadows floated down from the ancient spaceship. Among the 3 of them, the person standing to the left was a cold youth who was carrying a sharp sword on his back. The eyes of the cold youth were penetrating, although the aura that he emitted was extremely rare among the universe gods of the 3rd heaven. No one in the snow sacred land was too concerned about it. As for the person standing on the right, she was a woman with a beautiful, bewitching face. This woman had a humble expression, and she was standing to the side, respectfully. As such, she should have just been a maid. However, this maid was a genuine real god. As for the person in the middle, surrounded by these 2 people with one on the left and the other on the right, he was a crimson-robed man. Similarly, the crimson-robed youth was carrying a sword on his back. He had a gentle expression, and he wore an indifferent smile. He was different from the 2 people beside him, and he was not emitting any aura at all. There was no aura at all, and he was just like a normal person. However, if everyone were to close their eyes, they would absolutely not discover the existence of this crimson-robed man. Instead, they could only feel a vast constellation. It was as if he possessed everything in the universe. Everyone's eyes could not help but be fixed onto the crimson-robed man in the middle. It was the same for the monarch of the Snow Kingdom. Since the monarch of the Snow Kingdom was able to become the monarch of a holy kingdom, his abilities should have achieved the level of a chaotic real god. However, the instant he saw the crimson-robed man, he seemed to have seen an illusion. It was as if with a thought, the other party could kill him countless times. Such a feeling had only been felt by the monarch of the Snow Kingdom from one person before. Greetings to Lord. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom greeted respectfully right away. Greetings to Lord. Many cultivators from the snow sacred land greeted the person who had come. Upon seeing everyone in front of him, Jian Wushuang laughed apathetically. However, all of a sudden, when he swept his eyes past everyone, he saw a person in the crowd. Oh, Master of Silence Gloriette. Long time no see. Jian Wushuang laughed. You are. The Master of Silence Gloriette opened his eyes widely and stared at Jian Wushuang unrelentingly. A figure then appeared in his mind at once. It was a little kid from 40,000 years ago. That little kid had looked for him, for the map to go to the 10 sanctuaries. In no time, the 2 figures were superimposed onto one another. You are that little kid from back then? The Master of Silence Gloriette cried out in alarm. Little kid. Jian Wushuang stroked his nose, and he had a puzzled expression. How impudent! The monarch of the Snow Kingdom berated immediately. The Master of Silence Gloriette noticed that he had made an indiscreet remark, and he asked for forgiveness at once. It's all right. Jian Wushuang waved his hands, and he was not concerned at all. At that moment, a figure floated over. She has come. Jian Wushuang placed both his hands behind him and looked over. The person who had come was a Taoist-robed married woman. As she walked over, every step contained special magic power. The moment she appeared at the void, many cultivators in that piece of universe became completely stunned, as if they had become idiots. After a long time, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom was the first person to react, and he shouted with respect right away, "Lord Tianyuan! Lord Tianyuan!" Everyone in the area was dumbfounded. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom was the master of a holy kingdom. In just a short amount of time, he had actually shouted Lord twice in succession. Jian Wushuang should be a super expert from outside the Snow Kingdom. Hence, it was very normal for the monarch of the Snow Kingdom to address him as Lord. What about Lord Tianyuan? Didn't she come from inside the snow sacred land? Tianyuan? Tianyuan mystery land? The Master of Silence Gloriette's eyes shrank abruptly. It is rumored that the cave of a lord is in the Tuanyuan mystery land, and even the monarch needed to treat her with respect. Could she be this person in front? Without caring about the reactions of anyone in the area, after the Taoist-robed married woman appeared, she looked at Jian Wushuang immediately. You should be the little friend Jian Wushuang, who has gotten into the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list, right? The Taoist-robed married woman laughed gently and modestly. I am Jian Wushuang. Greetings to Sir God Tianyuan. Jian Wushuang greeted. Little friend, you are being too modest. The Taoist-robed married woman said right away, little friend has gotten into the 61st position of the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. With such abilities, even if there were 3 of me, we would still be defeated with a flip of your palm. So how could I accept a greeting from you? Chapter 1784, Favor. The ordinary cultivators in snow-scared world had heard what the Taoist-robed woman said, and they didn't find it strange, but the monarch of the Snow Kingdom's heart skipped a beat. He knew the Taoist-robed woman's capability, but she had said that 3 of herself combined wouldn't be the crimson-robed man's match. Just how strong was the crimson-robed man? Almighty. He must be an almighty, and he must be a super expert among almighties. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom's facial expression changed. Little friend, let's find a place and continue to chat, the Taoist-robed woman said. Sure, Jian Wushuang nodded. Snow, lead the way. The Taoist-robed woman glanced at the monarch of the Snow Kingdom. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom immediately led the way in front, but didn't bother with his identity as the monarch of the Snow Kingdom. Just as Jian Wushuang and the others left, it immediately stirred a hubbub among the crowd. All the cultivators were discussing Jian Wushuang and the Taoist-robed woman's identities. In a lofty hall, Jian Wushuang sat side by side with the Taoist-robed woman. As for the monarch of the Snow Kingdom, he Xiao and Qiu Yu sat below. Wushuang, the last time I saw you, you were in my Tianyuan mystery land. You were only a universe god then. In the blink of an eye, you already became the top existence in eternal chaotic world, and you are even listed in Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. I am really impressed, the Taoist-robed woman, Sir God Tianyuan, said. I am just lucky. Jian Wushuang smiled humbly. He roughly knew the Taoist-robed woman. Sir God Tianyuan was a Sir God expert that was good at soul attacks. She wasn't famous in Eternal Chaotic World, but her soul attack was unusually fierce. It was said that she could even pose as a threat to the top Sir Gods. For instance, although Jian Wushuang's fighting power was strong, his soul strength wasn't strong. If Sir God Tian Yuan were to launch a full soul attack, it could put him into a threatened position too. Speaking of Tian Yuan Mystery Land, Sir God Tian Yuan never revealed yourself, and you didn't even know me, but you gave me an opportunity. This favor, I remember it by heart. If you need anything in the future, if it's within my capability, I'll never refuse to help, Jian Wushuang said. Jian Wushuang was very grateful for what Sir God Tian Yuan had done. Back in Snow's sacred world, Jian Wushuang had joined the ranking battle as a disciple from Snow Dojo and had won himself a chance to enter Tian Yuan Mystery Land for cultivation for 10 years. In the 10 years, not only did Jian Wushuang's soul power increase tremendously, most importantly, he had received an opportunity from Sir God Tian Yuan, secret skill of Tian Yuan. Even though the secret skill of soul attack was nothing much to Jian Wushuang, he could even get any other stronger secret skill of soul attack easily. However, back when Jian Wushuang was still weak, the secret skill helped him a lot. There were even many times when Jian Wushuang had run into danger. He had resolved it through secret skill of Tian Yuan. The secret skill was extremely helpful when he had still been a universe god. Although Jian Wushuang didn't know who had provided him the secret skill in Tian Yuan Mystery Land, he remembered the favor in his heart. He was a person who attached importance to friendship and emotions. He was also a person who made a clear distinction between kindnesses and wrongs. He would definitely take revenge if there was resentment, and repay if there was a favor. Sir God Tian Yuan had done him a favor. Hence, when he passed by Snow's sacred land, he wanted to express his gratitude to Sir God Tian Yuan personally. Back then I noticed that you were an inverse cultivator and carried the bloodline of an ancient god. I happen to be friends with a 7-star ancient god. So, I gave the secret skill of Tian Yuan to you, to befriend you. I never thought you could reach such a level today. Sir God Tian Yuan smiled. A favor to an expert on Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. I made a great investment. Without the opportunity that Sir God Tian Yuan provided me, I might not be able to achieve what I have today, Jian Wushuang smiled. The secret skill of Tian Yuan that Sir God Tian Yuan gave him helped him to head off disasters many times. Jian Wushuang repaid the favor, as was only right and proper. Oh, yeah, little friend, you came to Snow's sacred land today just for me? Sir God Tian Yuan asked. There are 2 purposes of my visit to Snow's sacred land. Mainly to express my gratitude to Sir God Tian Yuan. Secondly, to meet an old friend. Jian Wushuang said, You have a friend in Snow's sacred land? I wonder who it is, Sir God Tian Yuan asked. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom immediately looked. After he had found out about Jian Wushuang's power, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom had been thinking of ways to curry favor with him. However, with Jian Wushuang's identity, no matter how much effort he put into it, he couldn't be in contact with him. But if it was Jian Wushuang's friend, it would be different. No matter who your friend is, Snow Kingdom will try our best to be on friendly terms with him, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom said. I only have one friend in Snow's sacred land. His name is Wu Tsang. 40,000 years ago, he was a golden deacon in Snow Dojo. I wonder how he has been, Jian Wushuang said. Wu Tsang. He had brought Jian Wushuang to Snow's sacred land and joined Snow Dojo back then. On the way there, Wu Tsang had taken care of him, and he shared a good relationship with Jian Wushuang. Hold on. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom immediately sent a message to the Information Department of Snow Kingdom. Very soon, there was a reply. Mr. Wu Tsang doesn't hold a position in Snow Dojo anymore, and he left Snow's sacred land, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom said. Oh. Jian Wushuang looked at the monarch of the Snow Kingdom and realized that he didn't look too good. Humph. There was a cold humph, and a divine might spread from Jian Wushuang's body and pressed onto the monarch of the Snow Kingdom. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom felt as though the sky was falling and his internal organs were going to break apart. At the same time, he felt his body unable to endure it, and he knelt down. Snow, what's going on? Sir God Tianyuan looked at him. To Jian Wushuang and Sir God Tianyuan, who was high above the masses, a monarch of a holy kingdom was a non-entity. If they wanted to, they could have killed the monarch of the Snow Kingdom easily and appointed another person to be the monarch. Something happened, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom said anxiously. 30,000 years ago, Wu Tsang had a fight with a lineal disciple of mine. Then, Wu Tsang was forced to leave by the lineal disciple, and he was told to never enter Snow's sacred land ever again. Oh, Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Humph. Sir God Tianyuan looked at Snow coldly. Snow, your lineal disciples made an impressive show of power. Huh? They relied on your might as a monarch and cornered Jian Wushuang's friend. Chapter 1785. The Snow Dojo's Disciple. I have already sent an order down to get people to capture that lineal son of mine, and he is all yours to handle, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom said. Jian Wushuang tapped the chair that he was sitting on with his hands. After remaining for some time, he said, Currently, where is Wu Tsang? I have gotten news that he is currently in the Dayu world. It is said that one of his good friends has gotten into some trouble over there, and he went over to help him, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom said. The Dayu world? Jian Wushuang could not help but laugh. His hometown, the Green Fire world, was in the Dayu world. Hence, he had stayed there for quite a period of time as well. As for Wu Tsang's good friend, Jian Wushuang knew that it was the Dayu Palace Master. The Dayu Palace Master is the overlord of the Dayu world. Since he has come across some trouble, does that mean that some unforeseen events have occurred in the Dayu world? Jian Wushuang murmured, and he spoke after that. I will go to the Dayu world right away. As for the lineage son under you, I will let Wu Tsang handle him after he comes back. Understood. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom nodded his head immediately. Oh, right. I saw the master of silence Gloriette of the Snow Dojo just now. Back then, when I set off from the Snow Kingdom to the 10 sanctuaries, he was the one who gave me the map. During that time, I was indeed a little kid to him. Hence, he did not offend me just now when we were outside. As such, you must not make trouble for him. As for the Snow Dojo, I was once a disciple of the Snow Dojo. Thus, you should also treat its disciples well, Jian Wushuang said. Understood. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom nodded his head again. After having a simple chat, Jian Wushuang did not continue, and he left at once. Lord, please have a safe trip. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom led many cultivators of the Snow's sacred land to send Jian Wushuang off to his spaceship. After Jian Wushuang left, Snow, you have heard little friend Jian Wushuang's instructions. Therefore, you should think over how you are going to do things. If you really have no idea, you should step down from your position of monarch. After Sir God Tianyuan spoke, she returned to the Tianyuan mystery land immediately. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom had broken out in a cold sweat while standing in his position. After Sir God Tianxian had left as well, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom heaved a sigh of relief. After that, he turned his head and looked at the large number of cultivators. In the end, his attention was focused on one person. Master of Silence Gloriette, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom said. Monarch! The Master of Silence Gloriette said right away. quite a number of the surrounding people looked at the Master of Silence Gloriette with sympathy and ridicule. They had seen with their own eyes that the Master of Silence Gloriette had offended the Lord moments ago. What was the position of that Lord? Even the monarch of the Snow Kingdom trembled with fear when he saw him, and the Master of Silence Gloriette had actually called him little kid in front of so many people. Wasn't he courting death? Although it was unintentional, there was no guarantee that the other party would not be concerned. Let's look. Let's look at how the monarch will punish him. After all, the Master of Silence Gloriette has a high position. Hence, the monarch will probably not kill him. However, there will definitely be a punishment. Quite a number of people were thinking about that. The Master of Silence Gloriette was also extremely fearful. However, all of a sudden, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom, who had been staring at him, revealed a smile. Master of Silence Gloriette, your snow dojo has indeed not disappointed me. Great going. What? The Master of Silence Gloriette was stunned. The surrounding people also looked at the monarch of the Snow Kingdom with surprise. Shouldn't the monarch of the Snow Kingdom be enraged and punish the Master of Silence Gloriette straight away? Why did he commend the snow dojo instead? Why? Don't you understand yet? The monarch of the Snow Kingdom laughed. You know that lord from just now, right? Of course I do. The Master of Silence Gloriette nodded his head. It was more than 40,000 years ago. To date, it should have been 50,000 years already. Back then, he was only a universe god, and he had once represented the Snow Dojo to take part in that ranking competition. Due to his participation, the Snow Dojo was victorious in the ranking competition. You're wrong about that. The monarch of the Snow Kingdom laughed heartily. That lord is a super existence who is exceptionally talented, and his power has completely exceeded your expectations. Moreover, such a super expert was actually once a disciple of your Snow Dojo. Just now, he also told me personally to treat the Snow Dojo well. This means that his impression of the Snow Dojo is not too bad. How honored do you think you are? The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. The lord from before actually came from the Snow Dojo. Such an earth-shaking super expert had actually been born from the Snow Dojo. I have already made up my mind. From today now, I will give the Snow Dojo twice the amount of resources. As for the upcoming ranking competition, you just need to do your best. The end result is not important, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom said. What? Everyone was shocked again, especially the people from the Universe God Palace. They had finally suppressed the Snow Dojo to the point that even the monarch of the Snow Kingdom wanted to close down the Snow Dojo. However, at that point, just because of the arrival of an expert who was slightly related to the Snow Dojo, not only did the monarch of the Snow Kingdom stop thinking about getting rid of the Snow Dojo, he had also decided to give them twice the amount of resources. This was twice the amount of resources. Even when their Universe God Palace had won the ranking competition in succession for the past few years, the monarch of the Snow Kingdom had never been so generous. My Snow Dojo is about to change for the better. The Master of Silence Gloriette was extremely delighted. It was the same for the Golden Deacons of the Snow Dojo, who were at the back. They had originally thought that it was the end of the line for the dojo. However, in the end, due to the arrival of Jian Wushuang, the Snow Dojo had achieved its peak instantly. Moreover, its position in the mind of the monarch of the Snow Kingdom had risen higher than never before. It was all because of Jian Wushuang. In the dark void, the silver spaceship that Jian Wushuang and the two other people were riding was moving at a shocking speed continuously. As it was only from the snow's sacred land to the Dayu world, the distance was not too far. With the spaceship's speed, they reached the Dayu world in just a few months' time. This time around, Jian Wushuang did not attract so much attention by riding the spaceship into the Dayu world. Instead, He stopped the spaceship outside the Dayu world. "Both of you shall wait for me here. I will be going in to greet some of my old friends." Jian Wushuang said. "Understood." He Xiao and Qiu Yu nodded their heads with respect. After that, Jian Wushuang's body turned vague, and he disappeared from the spaceship. The Dayu world was a normal region under the Snow Kingdom. As a normal region, their experts were normally universe gods of the third heaven. Back then, when Jian Wushuang had been traveling in the Dayu world, everything in the Dayu world had been controlled by the Dayu Palace Master, a universe god of the third heaven. Moreover, he was the only universe god of the third heaven in the whole region. Hence, he was the most powerful person. Back then, to Jian Wushuang, the Dayu Palace Master had been considered a super existence which was impossible to surpass. However, at that time, forget about a mere universe god of the third heaven. Even if it were real gods, Jian Wushuang had already killed an innumerous number of them. After entering the Dayu world, Jian Wushuang knew that some unforeseen events had indeed occurred in the Dayu world. Chapter 1786, Tianju City in Dayu Palace in Dayu world. Jian Wushuang stopped in the void above a lofty hall in Dayu Palace. In the void, Jian Wushuang could clearly feel the auras in the hall below, and there were quite a number of them that he was familiar with. "There are quite a lot of old friends here." Jian Wushuang smiled, and he flew towards the hall. In the hall, many universe gods had gathered. Among the universe gods, the master of Dayu Palace and Wu Tsang were leaders. Then, they were followed by experts from Scarlet Island, Golden Sun Sect, and Holy Prefecture. In Dayu world, 1 monarch and 3 overlords, the representatives of 4 major forces, were gathered. "Palace Master, there are news saying Tianju City's troops already departed. They will arrive in 6 hours' time at most," a white-dressed universe god reported politely. 6 hours. The master of Dayu Palace grew distressed. The universe gods at the scene didn't look good either. "I never expected Tianju City to grow so fast," the master of Scarlet Island said. D**MN Tianju City. "They didn't even give us a chance," the master of Golden Sun Sect said. "Tianju City has just risen, and they wanted to punish one as an example to others." Dayu world seemed to be the one of the masters from Holy Prefecture said. "Humph, Tianju City wants the forces in Dayu world to yield to them. It won't be that easy." A universe god in the second heaven from Dayu Palace humphed. The universe gods higher-ups in Dayu world united as one against the same enemy. Just then, what made everyone so furious? A calm voice spread, and a crimson-robed figure substantiated in the middle of the hall. The universe gods were stunned when they saw the crimson-robed figure. They were having a discussion, and they had set up prohibitions surrounding the hall, but this person had barged in quietly. "You are," the master of Scarlet Island was the first who stood up and looked at the incomer. "Jian Wushuang, it's you?" "Jian Wushuang." The master of Dayu Palace and Wu Tsang looked at him too. "Ha ha, master of Scarlet Island, master of Dayu Palace, brother Wu Tsang, long time no see. How have you been?" Jian Wushuang let out a hearty laugh. "It's really you," the master of Dayu Palace and Wu Tsang walked down. Jian Wushuang, long time no see. The master of Scarlet Island was the most surprised one. After all, Jian Wushuang was from Scarlet Island, and he carried the secret skill of Scarlet Kingdom. He belonged to lineage of Scarlet. As for the master of Golden Sun Sect and the few masters of Holy Prefectures, they didn't look quite good. Jian Wushuang shared resentment with Golden Sun Sect and Holy Prefecture, especially Golden Sun Sect, as Jian Wushuang killed the master of Golden Sun Sect's brother. Back then, the master of Golden Sun Sect had wanted to kill Jian Wushuang. But in the end, They had had no choice but to get the master of Dayu Palace involved and settled the resentment between them. As they met again, his emotions were naturally complicated. After a brief exchange of conventional greetings, Jian Wushuang found a seat and sat down casually. Listening to your conversation earlier, Dayu World seems to be in trouble? Jian Wushuang asked casually. Yeah, we ran into some trouble. The master of Dayu Palace nodded faintly and looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, your aura is distinguished. I can't see through it at all. I believe you must have improved tremendously, right? I did. Jian Wushuang nodded. To what level exactly? Have you passed your third inverse cultivation test? The master of Dayu Palace asked closely. Yes, I have already passed it. Jian Wushuang answered. That's great. The master of Dayu Palace was thrilled, and the universe gods in the hall beamed with joy. Even the master of Golden Sun sect and the few masters of Holy Prefecture who harbored grudges against Jian Wushuang looked happy too. Jian Wushuang, as you are a cultivator of Dayu World as well, I will be frank with you. About 1,000 years ago, there was a force that rose abruptly near Dayu World. The force called themselves Tianju City. The master of Dayu Palace told him the ins and outs of the story. Then Jian Wushuang understood. The danger that Dayu World was facing derived from Tianju City. Not long ago, Tianju City had spread news to all forces and sects in Dayu World and over 10 surrounding worlds to yield to them. All worlds naturally wouldn't agree. Hence, Tianju City wanted to take action, and the first was against Dayu World. Then, the city was under siege. 6 hours later, the troops from Tianju City would arrive. Hence, the master of Dayu Palace had gathered the 3 overlords in Dayu World to unite to fight against Tianju City. Tianju City is extremely powerful. It is said that they have more than 10 universe gods in the third heaven, and they have more than 1,000 universe gods. Against a powerful force like them, with our strength in Dayu World alone, we wouldn't be evenly matched. But now that Jian Wushuang has returned, it is a different story. The master of Dayu Palace beamed with joy. Jian Wushuang, you are an inverse cultivator. You should be extremely strong compared to those of the same level. As you have passed your third inverse cultivation test, there shouldn't be any universe gods who are your match. If you were to partake in the battle, we Dayu World might be able to win the battle against Tianju City. Yes, Wu Tsang, master of Scarlet Island, and the others nodded simultaneously. Then Jian Wushuang smiled. I was from Dayu World. As Dayu World is in trouble, I naturally couldn't just stand and watch. Everyone heard that Jian Wushuang had agreed to help, and they instantly saw a sliver of hope. 6 hours later, the army from Tianju City really came. In the void outside Dayu Palace, Tianju City's army gathered. There were at least 4,000 people. Among the 4,000 people, the weakest aura was Universe God in the first heaven. A total of 4,000 universe gods. There were over 200 universe gods in the second heaven and over 30 universe gods in the third heaven. Looking at the sight, the universe gods in Dayu World who saw a string of hope earlier, their faces instantly grew pale as a sheet, with no color in their cheeks. How is it possible? How could it be? The master of Dayu Palace muttered. According to the information, it isn't as such. The others were dumbfounded too. The information that they had obtained about Tianju City previously had said that they had over 1,000 universe gods, and there had less than 10 universe gods in the third heaven. But in the end, Tianju City's power was a few times greater than what they knew. A few times. If their fighting power was, as the information they obtained had said, they might have stood a chance because of Jian Wushuang's return. But then, no hope at all. Although Jian Wushuang has returned, no matter how strong he is, he could at most fight with 10 universe gods in the third heaven alone. The rest of Tianju City's power could still easily massacre all the experts in Dayu World. Chapter 1787. Master, Mr. We're really finished. Many universe gods in the Dayu World howled in grief. Just then, a figure appeared out of thin air before the great army of the Tianju City. It was a black-armored, middle-aged man who looked a bit arrogant. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with coldness. After he looked at the universe gods of the Dayu World, he wore a smile that was filled with ridicule. Upon seeing the arrogant middle-aged man, the universe gods of the Dayu World gave up all their hope completely. A real god. They actually had a real god. The Dayu Palace Master gave a bitter smile. Palace Master, shall we surrender? A master from the Holy Prefecture could not help but say, surrender. Upon hearing that, the expressions of the universe gods present changed. With such a great difference in abilities, they would definitely die if they were to continue going against them. Hence, surrendering was indeed a good idea. It's useless. The Dayu Palace Master forced a smile and shook his head. If the Dayu World had surrendered right away at the start, the Tianju City might still accept us. However, now, the full force of the Tianju City is here, and even a real god expert has shown himself. As such, what they want now is no longer the Dayu World surrendering. Instead, they want to destroy the Dayu World completely and frighten the other regions. Hence, even if we were to surrender now, they would definitely not accept it. Then what can we do? The universe gods in the Dayu World started to feel anxious. What else can we do? The Dayu Palace Master said with grief, all of you, as soon as the Tianju City makes a move later on, please escape straight away. I hope that as many of you as possible can escape. We shall not resist them fearlessly, as it would be useless. Everyone became silent. Brother Wu Tsang, for you to come this time around, I am extremely grateful to you. If we really fight later on, please leave quickly as well, the Dayu Palace Master said. Dayu, Wu Tsang sighed lightly. I'm sorry that I'm unable to help you in this battle. The Dayu Palace Master waved his hands and did not have any intention of blaming Wu Tsang. After that, he looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, you should not have returned during this period of time. Dayu Palace Master, the great battle has yet to begin. Thus, you should not be so pessimistic. What if there are some other unforeseen events? Jian Wushuang laughed. I really admire you for still being able to joke around at this period of time. The Dayu Palace Master was in sorrow. However, at that moment, Palace Master, look, an alarmed cry could be heard abruptly. The Dayu Palace Master, Wu Tsang, and the large number of universe gods present looked over immediately. With that, all their eyes shrank fiercely. From the void far away, two figures were speeding over. Although they had not reached them yet, their two frightening auras had already spread across the area. Among the two auras, one was that of a universe god of the third heaven, while the other was that of a real god expert. The Dayu Palace Master was puzzled. No one else understood either. However, the two figures had already appeared in front of the great army of the Tianju City. The eyes of the cold youth, who was carrying a sword in his hand and emitting the aura of a universe god of the third heaven, were ice cold. As he passed by the great army of the Tianju City, his ice-cold voice resounded across the universe. Tianju City, leave immediately. If not, die. The voice was like the fury of a thunderbolt, and it did not dissipate even after a long time. Upon hearing the voice, the large number of universe gods of the Dayu World became extremely dumbfounded. Who are they? The Dayu Palace Master opened his eyes wide. From the looks of it, the other party obviously wanted to force the Tianju City to retreat. However, he had never seen those two people before. Hence, It was impossible for him to have friendly relations with them. Why would they help him for no reason? As for the large number of universe gods in the Tianju city, all of them were enraged. The leader of the Tianju city, the black-armored middle-aged man, became furious right away. Where did this reckless idiot who dared to be impudent in front of my Tianju city's great army come from? Men, kill him! Tens of universe gods of the third heaven of the Tianju city attacked with lightning speed at once. Since you are unwilling to retreat, you shall die. A voice that was filled with shocking, murderous intent could be heard from the cold youth. At the next moment, his sword came out of its scabbard, and he attacked with his sword immediately. As for the beautiful woman beside him who had already reached the level of a real god, she did not move. A great battle burst forth instantly. Swish! A crimson sword shadow which was filled with an infinite amount of murderous intent and looked as if it came from the abysmal hell attacked. The sword light flew wantonly and swept past the bodies of 6 universe gods of the third heavens instantly. With that, 6 bodies fell at the same time. After that, the cold youth unleashed another stroke. With the same stroke, a few icy cold bodies fell again. With one face-off, the tens of universe gods of the third heaven, which had headed for the cold youth, were killed. How is this possible? He is so powerful. Such a scene caused everyone to be dumbfounded. The leader of the Tianju city flew into a rage at once. Die! Boom! The aura of a real god was unleashed. The leader of the Tianju city took action personally, and he headed for the cold youth. With a real god coming personally, everyone in the Dojo world thought that the cold youth would retreat, and the beautiful woman behind him, who was also a real god, would fight. However, in actual fact, the cold youth did not even retreat by a half a step. He still held his sword and continued to fight with the leader of the Tianju city alone. The end results were everyone present became silent. The whole universe became deathly silent. It was extremely silent. Dead. A real god was actually killed by a universe god on the spot. How is this possible? If not for them seeing it with their own eyes, almost no one present would think that it was true. After killing the leader of the Tianju city, the cold youth spoke again, "Scram!" Although it was just one word, it contained an enormous amount of prestige. The large number of universe gods from the Tianju city had already been shocked to the point that they had lost their courage. As such, they escaped in all directions at once. In just an instant, the great army of the Tianju city, which was originally vast and mighty, escaped, and not even a single one of them was left. The Dojo world's danger this time around was taken care of easily, just like that. What exactly is going on? The large number of universe gods of the Dojo world had not even reacted yet. No idea. The Dojo Palace Master also nodded his head repeatedly. To date, he still did not know who those 2 experts were and why they helped his Dojo world. He only knew that among the 2 experts, only one of them was sent out. Moreover, it was a universe god. However, even with that, he threw the great army of the Tianju city, which had caused all the powerhouses in the Dojo world to give up all hope, into chaos. Killing a real god with the power of a universe god, this is a real super expert. In the whole Snow Kingdom, no, in the whole eternal chaotic world, he is definitely a top genius. Such a super expert has actually come to our Dojo world. The Dojo Palace Master murmured. At the next moment, he reacted. Brother Wu Tsang, Jian Wushuang, and everyone present, quick, follow me to greet those 2 people together. The Dojo Palace Master said immediately. Everyone present had planned to go and greet them. Only Jian Wushuang laughed instead. No need. They will come here themselves. As expected, The two experts who had defeated the great army of the Tianju city were already flying toward them, and in an instant they appeared in front of them. Greetings to two lords from Dayu, as well as the large number of universe gods of the Dayu world. Thank you so much for helping my Dayu world to resolve our danger this time around. My Dayu world is extremely grateful to the two of you, the Dayu Palace Master said. At the same time, he, as well as everyone else beside him, bowed to the people who had come with respect. Everyone bowed to greet them. Only Jian Wushuang remained standing indifferently. Both his hands were also behind his back, and he had no intention of greeting them. Jian Wushuang, please greet them quickly. The Dayu Palace Master lowered his voice and shouted. Jian Wushuang, Wu Tsang, and the Scarlet Island Master urged as well. Greet them. Jian Wushuang stroked his own nose, and he had a puzzled expression. At that moment, the two experts who had defeated the great army of the Tianju city and caused the Dayu Palace Master, Wu Tsang, and the rest of the people to revere them lowered their heads at the same time. Greetings to Master from your disciple. Greetings to Mister from your maid. They did not conceal their voices at all, and their voices resounded across the quiet void. The Dayu Palace Master, Wu Tsang, and the rest of the people who were originally urging Jian Wushuang to greet them immediately were all dumbfounded. Chapter 1788, Disciple, Maidservan, Master, Mister? The universe gods in Dayu world were confused. They wondered who were they greeting. Just as they looked in the direction they bowed at, they saw Jian Wushuang, who stood there proudly. They were astonished by the sight. The two of them were bowing at Jian Wushuang. It's impossible. Everyone found it unbelievable, until Jian Wushuang waved. Get up. The two of them immediately got up and stood behind Jian Wushuang politely. Looking at the sight, no matter how stupid a person was, they should be able to tell that the person that the two of them bowed to humbly was Jian Wushuang. Wushuang, my friend, what's going on? The master of Dayu Palace asked with his eyes wide. He even changed the way he called Jian Wushuang immediately. He had called Jian Wushuang by his name earlier, and he had talked to Jian Wushuang on equal terms. However, in his voice then, there was reverence and respect. Everyone else looked at Jian Wushuang simultaneously. They were all confused and hoped that Jian Wushuang would clarify. Let me introduce to you. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He first pointed at the cold-looking young man carrying a sword. It was the cold-looking young man who had killed many universe gods in the third heaven from Tianju City alone. He also killed the leader of Tianju City, a real god expert. He is Xiao. He's my disciple, Jian Wushuang said casually. Xiao smiled and nodded at everyone in respect. He could tell that his master was friends with the surrounding people. His master, who was a superb existence, who spoke modestly when he talked to the universe gods. He naturally didn't dare to act haughtily. He's your disciple. The master of Dayu Palace gulped. Wushuang, my friend, you are so lucky. You found such a monstrous, lineal disciple, Wu Tsang complimented with envy. Xiao immediately corrected when he heard that. You misunderstood. I am only Master's registered disciple. As for lineal disciple, I'm afraid I do not qualify with my current ability. The universe gods from Dayu world gawked at his correction. Such an unbelievable genius. Even in the core of the 10 sanctuaries in Eternal Chaotic World, they reckoned he would be a super genius as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. But he was only Jian Wushuang's registered disciple. He didn't even qualify to be his lineal disciple. Is this a joke? Wushuang, my friend, this is... The master of Dayu Palace looked at Qiu Yu by the side. She is Qiu Yu. She's my maidservant. Jian Wushuang said, "Maidservant." The universe gods felt their throats grow dry. He Xiao, a universe god who had killed a real god and was definitely a super genius in their eyes, was only Jian Wushuang's registered disciple. The real god expert, who looked slightly stronger than the master of Tianju City, was only Jian Wushuang's maidservant, then Jian Wushuang, who was He Xiu's master, and Qiu Yu's mister. Just how strong was he? Everyone couldn't help but look at Jian Wushuang. Their gazes were different from before. Just then, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. There were suddenly 5 figures that sped over from afar. Among the 5 figures, there were 4 universe gods in the 3rd heaven, and the one leading was a woman in red, a real god. The 5 figures stopped in the void in front of Jian Wushuang, and they bowed simultaneously. "I am Fenyu under the monarch of Snow Kingdom. Greetings." "What's the matter?" Jian Wushuang glanced at the woman in red. He could get down from his high horse before the master of Dayu Palace, Wu Tsang, the master of Scarlet Kingdom, because of their relationship before. However, to Fenyu, who he didn't share any relationship with, he behaved differently. The woman in red, Fenyu, took a deep breath and replied politely, "Mister, we came under the order of the monarch. We rushed over from the nearby territory at our fastest speed possible. The monarch knows that Dayu World shared a close relationship with you, and he heard of the Tianju City's plan to come to attack. He was worried that you couldn't make it in time to Dayu World, so he sent us to dismiss Tianju City. But he never expected Mister to arrive before us." "I see." Jian Wushuang understood. He could tell that the monarch of Snow Kingdom cared about his matter a lot. "Mister, although Tianju City's troop has retreated, they offended you, and they shall not be forgiven. The monarch has already sent 3 real gods with the 10th and 11th troops to destroy Tianju City entirely within 10 days. They will exterminate all higher-ups." Fenyu reported, "You can take care of that." Jian Wushuang waved. Yes, Fenyu nodded politely. The universe gods in Dayu World saw the sight, and they were dumbfounded. "Real god Fenyu? The 2nd military commander of Snow Kingdom?" Wu Tsang looked at Fenyu, and he looked surprised. Snow Kingdom was a huge holy kingdom, and they ruled countless worlds. The monarch of Snow Kingdom mainly controlled over the holy kingdom, and he naturally required a huge troop. It was said that Snow Kingdom had 20 military troops in total, and every troop had 10,000 soldiers. All the soldiers were made of universe gods. The 20 military troops were under the command of 4 commanders. In terms of position, even Master of Silence Gloriette from Snow Dojo was slightly below them. Real god Fenyu was one of the 4 commanders. She was truly a big figure, and such a big figure was behaving so politely before Jian Wushuang. Then real god Fenyu looked at Wu Tsang, and she flashed a gentle smile. "You must be Mr. Wu Tsang, right?" "Wu Tsang, mister?" Wu Tsang was shocked. He was only a universe god in the 3rd heaven. Even when he was a golden deacon in Snow Dojo, he definitely wasn't in the eyes of real god Fenyu. But then, not only had real god Fenyu called him by his name, she had referred him as Mister. Mister? It was an extremely respectful title. Normally, they would only refer to someone stronger than themselves as Mister, or at least someone who was on equal level. But then, "I am," Wu Tsang nodded. "According to the monarch's order, from today on, Mr. Wu Tsang will be Snow Kingdom's guest. Your position is equal to Master of Silence Gloriette from Snow Dojo. Not only ago, there was a lineal disciple of his who offended Mr. Wu Tsang. The lineal disciple was captured and imprisoned in the prison of Snow Sacred Land. As for his punishment, whether to keep him alive or dead will be decided by Mr. Wu Tsang," Fenyu said with a smile. Wu Tsang was dumbfounded by her comment. He had been kicked out from Snow Sacred Land because he had offended the lineal disciple, and he was told to not step foot there anymore. But then the change was too drastic. Of course, he knew clearly that with him alone, or even 10 of him combined, he wouldn't have such power. There was only one person possibly with such power at the scene. Wu Tsang couldn't help but look at the person. This person was, of course, Jian Wushuang. Chapter 1789, The Frightening Spacetime Storm. Lord, the monarch wanted me to give you this token. Fen Yu handed a token to Jian Wushuang with respect. This is the token to control the 10th Legion. After the 10th Legion has completely destroyed the Tianzhu city, they will be stationed near the Dayu world throughout the year. Hence, by using this token, Lord can mobilize the 10th Legion to do anything. Of course, Lord's abilities are monstrous. In Lord's hands, the 10th Legion will probably be destroyed with a flip of a palm. However, it is impossible for Lord to do everything himself. With the 10th Legion showing up on your behalf in the Snow Kingdom, there will be less trouble for you. In addition, you can also give this token to your loved ones or friends. Similarly, they can mobilize the 10th Legion as well. Even if you were to leave with the 10th Legion at hand, no one would dare to disrespect your loved ones and friends. For example, it will be impossible for today's matter, where the great army of the Tianzhu city fought all their way here, to happen again. Understood. Help me to thank the monarch of the Snow Kingdom for his good intentions by saying that I will accept this token. Jian Wushuang nodded his head and said, seeing that Jian Wushuang had accepted the token, Fen Yu became delighted at once. As for Jian Wushuang, he turned his head to look at a person beside him. Scarlet Island Master. Lo, Lord, the Scarlet Island Master said with respect immediately. Jian Wushuang forced a smile. I was born in the Scarlet Island, and I am also someone from the bloodline of Scarlet. Hence, you do not need to be so respectful to me. Understood. The Scarlet Island Master nodded his head. However, his expression was still respectful like before. With regards to that, Jian Wushuang stopped forcing him. I am thankful to the Scarlet Island for protecting me back then when I came out from my hometown and was traveling in the Dayu world. Therefore, I shall give you this token now. Jian Wushuang tossed the token to the Scarlet Island Master. Such a scene caused the eyes of quite a number of the surrounding universe gods to turn red. It should be known that the token was the token to control the 10th Legion. With the token on hand, one would be able to mobilize the whole 10th Legion. That was 10,000 universe gods. Moreover, they were elites. In addition, they were proficient in group attacks, and their formations, as well as fighting capabilities, were extremely powerful. For example, the 10th Legion could destroy a powerhouse like the Tianzhu city easily. By being able to control such a powerful force, the power that the Scarlet Island Master possessed surpassed that of the Tianzhu city when it was at its peak instantly. In the future, even if it were the Dayu Palace Master, who was the most powerful person in the Dayu world, he would also need to lower his head when facing the Scarlet Island. Oh, right. During this period of time, did Big Brother Fiery King return to the Scarlet Island at all? Jian Wushuang asked. He had returned before. However, that was 20,000 years ago. Moreover, he only stayed for a short period of time. After leaving some resources for the Scarlet Island, he left and continued to travel. The Scarlet Island Master said at once. Oh. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and looked at the surrounding people right away. Everyone, I am in a rush to return to my hometown, to take a look. Hence, I cannot accompany all of you any longer. Lord, please have a safe trip. Fen Yu saluted immediately and sent him off. The Dayu Palace Master, Wu Tsang, the Scarlet Island Master, and the rest of the people looked on with respect as Jian Wushuang and his people left, after Jian Wushuang, and his people were far away. The large number of universe gods present heaved a sigh of relief. Those universe gods were looking at each other, and they only felt that they were still in their dreams. Lord Fenyu, Wu Tsang spoke with respect, carefully. Mr. Wu Tsang, you do not need to be so modest. You can just call me by my name. Otherwise, you can also call me military commander. Fenyu laughed gently. He knew that Wu Tsang, as well as quite a number of people present, were on good terms with the Lord from before. Although they were not really very close to one another where they were sworn friends, as long as they were on good terms, they were worthy of being treated earnestly by the monarch of the Snow Kingdom, let alone him, military commander. Wu Tsang took a deep breath and asked, "What exactly is Jian Wushuang's current identity? Why are you so respectful of him? Moreover, from the looks of it, even the monarch is paying a lot of attention to him." Paying attention to him? Fenyu laughed. Mr. Wu Tsang, you're wrong. The monarch is not paying attention to Lord Jian Wushuang. Instead, he is respecting him. Respecting him? Wu Tsang was stunned. The Dayu Palace master and his group of people around the area looked over with astonishment. What kind of existence was the monarch of the Snow Kingdom? Even with that, he still revered Jian Wushuang. Let me tell all of you the truth. The Lord just now has already achieved the level of an almighty. Fenyu said earnestly, "Almighty?" Everyone was puzzled. However, Wu Tsang and the Dayu Palace master were dumbfounded. The two of them had a lot of experience, and they knew what an almighty meant. It was a supreme existence of the eternal chaotic world. For such a super existence, a real god would normally kneel down if he were to see them. Even if it were a chaotic real god, like the monarch of the Snow Kingdom, he was merely an ant to an almighty. No wonder even the monarch of the Snow Kingdom would be so fearful and respectful of him. So Jian Wushuang has already become an almighty in just tens of thousands of years. The little kid from back then has actually grown to such a level. Wu Tsang and the Dayu Palace master were filled with disbelief. After leaving the Dayu Palace, Jian Wushuang rode the spaceship to his hometown, the Green Fire World. Immediately, in the void, which was in complete darkness, an ancient spaceship was moving hastily. Inside the spaceship's cabin, "I'm almost there. I'm almost home." Jian Wushuang clenched both his fists, and his expression was obviously filled with excitement. This caused Yu, who were at the side, to be extremely surprised. It was their first time seeing Jian Wushuang so excited. On normal days, Jian Wushuang had never been so excited before, even when he had made a huge breakthrough or achieved some kind of opportunity. They were totally unable to understand Jian Wushuang's current feelings. The Green Fire World was his hometown. It was his roots. That place was the very center of his life. No matter how high his abilities rose to or what place he would go to in the future, all of them would always be incomparable to the Green Fire World. Moreover, he had left his own hometown for far too long. It was reckoned to be more than 50,000 years. After so many years, Jian Wushuang also had no idea how his hometown was doing. He had no idea how his parents, his brothers, his loved ones, and good friends were doing. Just a while more, and I will be able to return to see all of you, Jian Wushuang murmured as he recalled the memories in his head. In no time, Jian Wushuang came before the vast space-time storm which his hometown, the Green Fire World, was at. In the space-time, which was already distorted completely, there was a frightening storm rolling about madly. Back then, when Jian Wushuang had come out of the Green Fire World, he had been shocked when he saw the space-time storm, as he absolutely could not see its edge at all. However, at that time, I am actually unable to see the edge already. It's too big. This space-time storm is too big. How much distance has it covered? Moreover, how strong is the power it contains? Jian Wushuang was filled with shock, and his heart twitched continuously. At that moment, he was a top existence in the eternal chaotic world, and his name was on the heaven and earth supreme ranking list. However, when he saw the space-time storm, he still could not help but have jitters. Chapter 17, 90 Home. Even Jian Wushuang was astonished, let alone He Xiao and Qiu Yu. Master, what are we doing here in front of the space-time storm? He Xiao couldn't help but ask. My hometown is in the space-time storm, Jian Wushuang said. What? He Xiao and Qiu Yu were shocked. In such a terrifying space-time storm, would there be a world where human resided in? How was it possible? Disciple, Qiu Yu, Jian Wushuang looked at them. Follow me in later, but after you enter, no matter what you see, do not reveal it to anyone in the future. Otherwise, even though the two of you are close to me, I will definitely kill you. I will obey Master's order. He Xiao and Qiu Yu nodded heavily. Both of them worshipped and were in awe of Jian Wushuang. Plus, Jian Wushuang had given them a new lease on life. They definitely wouldn't go against Jian Wushuang's order. Come on, let's head in. Jian Wushuang immediately drove the ancient spaceship towards the space-time storm. The space-time storm was terrifying, but the spaceship was equally barbaric. It hit a hole in the space-time storm forcefully, and the spaceship was immersed into the space-time storm. In the cabin, Jian Wushuang spread his soul power and felt the power of the surrounding space-time storm. The power is so scary. Luckily, the space-time storm formed a balance long ago. Otherwise, if it were to explode, it could even turn Snow Kingdom into ashes in a split second. Even I do not stand a chance to survive the space-time storm, Jian Wushuang muttered. However, due to the existence of the space-time storm, his hometown was never exposed. On the battlefield where his hometown was located, there shouldn't be a second person who knew besides King Gutong. The ancient spaceship continued to plunge to the other side of the space-time storm. Just as the spaceship drove past the entire space-time storm, a huge formation appeared before Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang saw the formation, and he revealed a wide smile. The formation was created by his master Xian Yi. Then, the cultivators in Green Fire Palace and him set it up. When the formation was first set up, Jian Wushuang could tell the formation was unusual. Then, when he saw it again, he was even more astonished. The formation was far more sturdy than his had imagined. Plus, the formation had blended into the space-time storm completely and driven the entire space-time storm. Unless one possessed the power to move the space-time storm, no one could move the formation, not even Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang was one of the people who had set up the formation, and he was from Green Fire World. Naturally, the formation wouldn't hinder him. Jian Wushuang waved, and a bolt of divine power appeared in the huge formation in front of him. The formation suddenly shook, and there was a space tunnel that appeared. Through the space tunnel, Jian Wushuang drove the spaceship and entered the huge battlefield where his hometown was located. Even after he entered, Palace Master Yun in Green Fire World, who had been using the formation to keep watch of experts who entered from outside world, didn't notice at all. That day, Jian Wushuang, who had left Green Fire World for more than 50,000 years, returned. It was still the same boundless battlefield. When the spaceship appeared on the battlefield, Jian Wushuang immediately put the spaceship into Qian Kuan Ring, and he stepped foot into the void. Jian Wushuang towered in the void as he looked at the surroundings. The familiar battlefield and the familiar aura made Jian Wushuang take a deep breath. But suddenly, Jian Wushuang looked surprised. That's not right. The soul aura on the battlefield. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. He could feel the abundant spiritual energy of the battlefield. the intensity of spiritual energy was stronger by 100-fold or even 1,000-fold compared to when he had left back then. So intense. Even Dayu World and Snow Kingdom didn't have such intense spiritual energy as the battlefield did. He was guessing that only spiritual energy in the 10 sanctuaries would be that intense. How could it be? Jian Wushuang creased his eyebrows. The intensity of spiritual energy represented the worth of a cultivation realm. To cultivate at a place with intense spiritual energy, the effect was naturally better than at other places, like 10 cultivation sanctuaries in Eternal Chaotic World. The reason why people yearned to visit it was not only because it was highly concentrated with experts, but because the spiritual energy was the most intense in the entire Eternal Chaotic World. Hence, its name of cultivation sanctuaries. But then, on the battlefield where Green Fire World was, the intensity of spiritual energy could barely be compared to favorably with the 10 sanctuaries. The battlefield should be from ancient times, and it is extraordinary. In the tens of thousands of years when I left Green Fire World, the battlefield and Green Fire World definitely went through some incident. Jian Wushuang's face grew solemn. "Disciple, Qiu, let's go." Jian Wushuang beckoned. He Xiao and Qiu, you could feel the spiritual energy that the battlefield contained as well, and they were amazed, but they didn't ask any questions. They heard Jian Wushuang, and they followed Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang knew which part of the battlefield he had landed on, and he knew where Green Fire Palace was. He didn't delay any further, but walked to Green Fire Palace. Soon, he arrived at Green Fire Palace, in front of the huge war fortress. The huge war fortress was covered in layers of formation. The formations carried power to a certain extent. It was at least a few times stronger than the formation that Jian Wushuang had set up before he left. Any layer of the formations could hinder an ordinary universe god. When Green Fire Palace had had a war with Jin Kingdom 50,000 years ago, Green Fire Palace had had such a huge formation. There had been no need for them to pay such a great price to defeat Jin Kingdom. Jian Wushuang stood in the void and overlooked the war fortress. He swept out his soul power and covered the entire war fortress. Although the war fortress could hinder ordinary universe gods, it was merely nominal to Jian Wushuang. His soul power could see through the internals of the war fortress clearly. The auras were in the war fortress. Jian Wushuang saw a few auras that he was familiar with, and he was thrilled. However, the few auras were much stronger than before. It seems that in the tens of thousands of years when I was away, Green Fire Palace has been through drastic changes. The overall power has increased tremendously. Jian Wushuang felt the auras below and revealed a smile. Chapter 17, 91-year sun has returned. In the past, the strongest people in the Green Fire Palace were the Universe Masters. Moreover, there were so little Universe Masters that it was pathetic. Before Jian Wushuang had risen to prominence, the Green Fire Palace had only had 5 Universe Masters. As for Heaven Masters, there were only about 200 of them. Such fighting capabilities were so weak that it was depressing. Due to that, they were forced by the Jin Kingdom, were to be unable to compete against the Jin Kingdom even after paying huge prices in the final great battle. If not for Jian Wushuang making a breakthrough at the critical moment in the end and killing the monarch of the Jin Kingdom, who was at the level of a universe god of the first heaven, the Green Fire Palace would have been destroyed a long time ago. Moreover, the Green Fire World would definitely not exist either. However, on that very day, after tens of thousands of years, the Green Fire Palace was a lot more powerful than before. At that moment, among the large number of cultivators who were gathered in the war fortress below, there was actually a total of 18 universe gods of the first heaven. As for universe masters, they were everywhere. If not for him, knowing that the big formation that Xiani had deployed was still present and that no one from the outside was able to come in, Jian Wushuang would really suspect that the current green fire world was occupied by the powerhouses which came from the eternal chaotic world. Both of you wait for me here. After giving out his instructions, Jian Wushuang floated toward the green fire palace below. In an open space in the green fire palace, a fatty who wore a luxurious, loose, and long robe was lying down and drinking wine. Beside him stood a bald-headed old man. Boring. The days are getting more and more boring. The fatty was drinking wine, and he felt extremely gloomy. I have told you before that this world is too small, and you should travel in a universe that is more vast. With that, it will be more interesting. However, you refuse to listen. As of now, it will not be so easy to leave even if you want to, the bald-headed old man said. How would I know that things would become like this? The fatty curled his lips. If I had known that this would be the case, I would have gone along with old 3 to travel outside 50,000 years ago. Stop complaining. It's useless even if you complain, the bald-headed old man said furiously. Ah, the fatty sighed, and his eyes filled with recollection. Speaking of old 3, I wonder how he is doing outside. And now, I wonder what level he has achieved. Humph, stop thinking about that brother of yours. The universe of the outside world is filled with danger. When he left, he barely possessed the fighting capabilities of a universe god. In the outside world, there are countless people who can kill him. Now that tens of thousands of years have passed, who knows if he is still alive? What an inauspicious remark. Old 3 is so impressive, he must still be alive. Moreover, he will definitely return in the future. The fatty had absolute confidence in old 3. Just then, Boss Wang Yuan, a voice could be heard abruptly. Who called me? The fatty was stunned. This voice is so familiar. It's old 3's voice. The fatty stood up abruptly. In front of him, a figure came into view slowly. It had a familiar face, an aura. It was the old 3 who the fatty had mentioned. Old 3, it's really you? Wang Yuan revealed a delighted expression at once. At the same time, he pinched his own face as he wanted to find out whether he was dreaming. Haha, I'm not dreaming. It's real. Great. Wang Yuan laughed loudly, and his huge body ran toward Jian Wushuang immediately. Without hesitation, he hugged Jian Wushuang. Boss Wang Yuan, even after not seeing you for so many years, you are still the same as before, and you are still so smooth and round as well, Jian Wushuang teased, and he had an extremely good mood. Boss Wang Yuan, he was his genuine good brother, who had gone through thick and thin with him. Old 3, let's find a place and have a good drink. Wang Yuan took Jian Wushuang and headed to the imperial palaces, which was far away. No problem, let's get the rest of the people as well. Jian Wushuang laughed. As the bald-headed old man who was by the side looked on as Wang Yuan and Jian Wushuang left, he became dumbfounded. This Jian Wushuang has actually returned for real. Moreover, his aura. The bald-headed old man squinted his eyes slightly. The bald-headed old man was a weapon spirit of the Loyalty Palace, and he had always followed Wang Yuan. As for the Loyalty Palace, it was born from the ancient battlefield nearby. Hence, the bald-headed old man was extremely knowledgeable. He could tell that Jian Wushuang's current aura was many times more powerful than it had been before. In no time, the news of Jian Wushuang's return spread with shocking speed. In a split second, the whole Green Fire Palace and the whole Green Fire world were in an uproar. Jian Wushuang had become a legend in the Green Fire world a long time ago. Even though tens of thousands of years had passed, this legend was still imprinted in the minds of many people, especially those experts who had gone through the decisive battle with the Jin Kingdom. That great battle had depended on Jian Wushuang's power alone to save all of them from a desperate crisis. In a vast courtyard, a large number of people had gathered. Most of them were the experts who had gone through that battle. Quite a number of them had interacted with Jian Wushuang before, and at that moment, they were chatting with Jian Wushuang joyfully and harmoniously. Old 3, an extremely emotional voice could be heard. After hearing the voice, Jian Wushuang looked over. When he saw the extremely beautiful black-robed young lady, he revealed an elated smile. "Ha, Old 4. The two of them hugged each other right away. To Jian Wushuang, Su Ro was like his biological sister. In no time, Shui Lingtian brought a woman over. Shui Lingtian was Jian Wushuang's brother, and he was also Xian Yi's lineal disciple. He also had an extremely good relationship with Jian Wushuang. Upon seeing his own senior, Jian Wushuang was also extremely delighted. As for that woman, she cried tears of joy the moment she saw Jian Wushuang. At the same time, she knelt down. "Greetings to Master from your disciple, Lin Lan. Master, you have finally returned. Little girl, please get up." Jian Wushuang laughed and waved his hands. In his life, he had only accepted 2 people as his disciple. In particular, Lin Lan was the first disciple he accepted. She was also someone who Jian Wushuang owed greatly, because he, a master, had almost never guided Lin Lan before. He only gave her some resources so that she would grow by herself. It should be known that for He Xiu, his registered disciple, he would give him some advice occasionally back when they were in the lineage of Star. However, Lin Lan did not disappoint Jian Wushuang as well. In terms of realm, she had become a universe master. Although that naturally meant nothing in the eternal chaotic world, it was already very shocking in the green fire world. Jian Wushuang was chatting with his senior and disciple. At the same time, he was asking them something about the ancient sect. With the disappearance of Master Xian Yi and him leaving the green fire world, the ancient sect had always been under Shui Lingtian's control, and everything was all right. Just then, all of a sudden, a man and woman appeared in the courtyard. As the two of them appeared, the voice of Jian Wushuang, who was chatting with Shui Lingtian, disappeared. He then stood up, and he looked at the two of them with mixed feelings. Similarly, the man and the woman were looking closely at Jian Wushuang. "Father, Mother, your son has returned." Chapter 17, 92 Shocking Change. The courtyard was in total silence. Before everyone's gazes, a man and woman walked forward slowly. Jian Nantian, with silvery white hair, gave out a unique aura. He extended his hand to pat Jian Wushuang's shoulder. "It's great to have you back." Jian Nantian smiled. Looking at his smile, Jian Wushuang felt his body and mind relax. Then Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming sat in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was surprised as he noticed his father's aura. The aura was the strongest out of everyone at the scene. Universe God in the second heaven? Jian Wushuang was astonished. Forget about the fact that there were many universe gods in the first heaven. His father had become a universe god in the second heaven. "Father, everyone, what happened? How can all of your powers increase so tremendously? The spiritual energy in this battlefield, how did it become this intense?" Jian Wushuang asked. Listening to Jian Wushuang's questions, everyone exchanged a look, and Wang Yuan laughed. "Old 3, we must give credit to your master for the battlefield's transformation." "My master?" Jian Wushuang was stunned, and he instantly responded, "Could it be the formation that my master created?" "Yes, that formation." Wang Yuan smiled. 50,000 years ago, your mysterious master disappeared, but he passed you a formation. Then you and Palace Master Yun from Green Fire World, and also the higher-ups set up the formation. Then, the formation became the biggest defense for Green Fire World. Without Green Fire Palace's permission, no one could barge into the battlefield. Scenes like the invasion of Gene Kingdom definitely won't happen again. However, the power of the formation doesn't just stop there. After the formation was set up, which was after you left, the battlefield, including the spiritual energy in Green Fire World, slowly became more intense under the influence of the formation. In the beginning, the spiritual energy didn't increase much, but as time went by, the spiritual energy grew more and more intense. Now, the spiritual energy in the battlefield has increased by 1,000-fold compared to before. As for Green Fire World, the battlefield gave birth to Green Fire World, and the transformation was even greater. You don't know. The spiritual energy in Green Fire World is 3 times more intense than the battlefield. Jian Wushuang was astonished. He could feel that the intensity of spiritual energy in the battlefield could be compared favorably with the 10 sanctuaries. But Green Fire World was 3 times stronger than the battlefield. How intense would it be? The cultivation environment in Green Fire World already overtook the 10 sanctuaries. Jian Wushuang muttered in disbelief. Besides, although the spiritual energy is much stronger than before, the battlefield, including Green Fire World, is in constant change. The intensity of the spiritual energy is constantly rising. Such intense spiritual energy naturally raises the probability of experts. Hence, in the 50,000 years that you were away, there was a big bunch of experts that flourished in Green Fire World. 50,000 years ago, Doctrine Masters were already considered as the top experts in Green Fire World. However, in Green Fire World now, there are Doctrine Masters all over. It was nothing. Even Heaven Master is not considered as a top expert in Green Fire World. Those who were qualified to stand at the peak would be Universe Master and Universe Gods. Now, Green Fire World has more than 30 Universe Gods. However, they are mostly Universe Gods in the first heaven. Only your father alone is extremely talented and stepped into Universe God in the second heaven, Wang Yuan said. Jian Wushuang was amazed. The cultivation environment determined the standard and quality of expert from a place. Then, the cultivation environment in Green Fire World was much stronger by a few hundred, even a few thousand times. Naturally, the experts born were many more. Plus, there were many cultivators in Green Fire World, but they didn't have anyone to guide them. Previously, the strongest in Green Fire World was only a Universe Master. As for anything above Universe Master, no one knew how to cultivate or improve. They had merely depended on themselves to explore and comprehend. At most, they could receive some pointers from the surrounding ancient battlefields, but the pointers weren't complete. Under such circumstances, Green Fire World could reach such a level in 50,000 years. If they were to receive complete guidance from Universe Gods, real gods, or even almighties, and they continued to propagate in the next 10,000 or 100,000 years, just how great would it be? Jian Wushuang was already amazed by the thought itself. Jian Wushuang, your hometown might stand a chance to become a new sanctuary, or even higher. King of Venomous Worms' solemn voice rang in Jian Wushuang's head. Jian Wushuang took another deep breath and calmed himself down from the surprise. Oh, yeah, it has been so long. I didn't know you happened to visit too. Where's Old Two? Also, Tang Emperor and Uncle Xiao? Why aren't they here? Jian Wushuang asked with a smile. However, the moment he brought up about Old Two, Wang Yuan and Su Rao's faces stiffened. The surrounding people's faces changed. Why? Wang Yuan, Su Rao, and the other people at the scene naturally couldn't hide from Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang creased his eyebrows. What happened? Old Three. Wang Yuan paused and then clenched his teeth as he said, Old too, he died. What? Jian Wushuang's face changed. Not just old too, but also Emperor Tang and Emperor Shao. Both of them died too, Wang Yuan continued. Jian Wushuang couldn't hold back anymore. When he heard that, died, old too, Emperor Tang and Uncle Shao died. How is it possible? Jian Wushuang's eyes were bloodshot. His roar reverberated in the courtyard, and he looked almost mad. He couldn't be blamed. The three people that had died were too important to him. Old too, Yang Zishuan was his brother. The same had happened to Wang Yuan and Su Rou. They were sworn brothers and sisters. They had been through life and death situations and shared an intimate relationship. Uncle Shao, also Emperor Shao. When he was weak, Emperor Shao had treated him with kindness. Besides, he had another identity. He was also Lung Rushwang's father, his father-in-law. As for Emperor Tang, he was the founder of Tang of the East. He was also one of the most ancient experts in Green Fire World. Back then, Jian Wushuang had yet to rise up, and there had only been 5 Universe Masters who were in commanding positions. Among the 5 of Universe Masters, there were 4 who had died. Only Emperor Tang was alive. He was the only survivor. Then, even the last ancient existence had died too? Who was it? Who killed them? Furious, Jian Wushuang was filled with rage. Jian Wushuang was raging with anger. Chapter 17, 93:13 Devil Bloods. Before Jian Wushuang left, the Tang Emperor, Emperor Shao, and Yang Zishuan were already at a level higher than that of a Dao Master. They had a long lifespan, and they would definitely not die a normal death in just tens of thousands of years. Since that was the case, there was only one possibility. They were killed by someone else. Who was it? Jian Wushuang looked at Wang Yuan with his eyes filled with hatred to the point that they were about to crack. Wang Yuan's expression had a ghastly pale expression, and he only spoke after a long time. The people who killed second brother, elder Tang Emperor, and Emperor Shao were the 13 Devil Bloods. The 13 Devil Bloods? Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes slightly. When he was still in the Green Fire World back then, he had never heard of the 13 Devil Bloods. Old 3, please calm down. I will fill you in slowly, Wang Yuan said. Jian Wushuang suppressed his fury and murderous intent forcefully to calm himself down so that he could listen to Wang Yuan. I have just told you, after you left, the Green Fire World underwent a great change where an unending stream of experts were born. Second brother is extremely talented, and he is only inferior to you among the 4 of us. As for Elder Tang Emperor and Emperor Shao, they were the earliest batch of experts, and their abilities rose the most. Moreover, as the Green Fire World had just experienced a great battle with the Gene Kingdom, many experts were extremely united. Hence, at the start, everything was going in the right direction. However, thousands of years ago, the Green Fire World underwent a great change, and the 13 Devil Bloods appeared. There is a total of 13 people in the 13 Devil Bloods, and they did not have any reputation in the past. After they appeared, they fought all the way into Tang of the East. Tang of the East had long been the Green Fire World's first country, and its abilities were extremely powerful. Moreover, with the second brother, the Tang Emperor, Emperor Shao, and other similar experts keeping watch, Tang of the East was rightfully impregnable. However, in the end, Tang of the East was massacred by the 13 Devil Bloods easily. In the end, Elder Tang Emperor, Emperor Shao, and second brother were killed by the 13 Devil Bloods. At the same time, the whole Tang of the East was completely occupied by the 13 Devil Bloods. The movements of the 13 Devil Bloods were too fast. They were so fast that even the Green Fire Palace was unable to react. After that, the 13 Devil Bloods created a devil church, and looked for believers wantonly. With that, their abilities got stronger day by day. Could it be that the Green Fire Palace allowed the Devil Church to continue getting stronger? Jian Wushuang asked, with a low voice. Of course not. Before Tang of the East underwent the Great Change, the Green Fire Palace stepped in. However, it was useless as the 13 Devil Bloods were too strong. Wang Yuan said bitterly. Many people beside him also could not help but lower their heads. Too strong. Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank. They are really too strong. Among the 13 Devil Bloods, none of them are someone who the Green Fire Palace can compete with. For example, currently, the strongest person in the Green Fire Palace is your father, Palace Master Jian Nantian. However, even if it were him, he would be completely helpless when he comes across the 13 Devil Bloods. Wang Yuan said. Jian Wushuang could not help but look at his own father. Jian Nantian was a proud person, and he considered himself the best in the world. However, as he listened to Wang Yuan, he nodded his head. It was obvious that he acknowledged that fact. Before the gap in terms of abilities, even if the Green Fire Palace wanted to take revenge for second brother, Elder Tang Emperor, and Emperor Shao, what can we do? Wang Yuan sighed lightly. Abilities, right? Jian Wushuang clenched his fists, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. I will avenge second brother, Elder Tang Emperor, and Emperor Shao. Boss Wang Yuan, where is the base of the Devil Church? Jian Wushuang had already stood up. Old Three, don't be reckless. Wang Yuan stopped Jian Wushuang right away. Shuanger, Jian Nantian also frowned. It's useless. The 13 Devil Bloods are really too powerful. According to Danzin's predictions, the 13 Devil Bloods have already achieved the level of a real god. Moreover, they are not normal real gods. Even when placed in the vast, eternal, chaotic world, any one of them would be considered a first-class expert, let alone the 13 Devil Bloods teaming up. Wang Yuan sighed, lightly. Old Three, I know that you are filled with sorrow and that you wish to avenge second brother and the rest of them. All of us wish to do so as well. However, no matter how much we want to avenge them, we cannot send ourselves to our deaths. Send ourselves to our deaths? They are merely trash. What right do they have to kill me? Jian Wushuang laughed disdainfully. Old Three, they are real gods, Wang Yuan said in an imperative tone. Everyone by the side also looked at Jian Wushuang. They had gotten some information from the ancient battlefield nearby, and they knew that the pure sun realm, which was also the real god realm, was after the universe god realm. With regards to real gods, they also had some knowledge about them. Real gods were super experts. For example, for a universe god of the second heaven like Jian Nantian, the weakest real god could kill hundreds upon hundreds of him with a flip of his palm. In the current Green Fire world, real gods were invincible. Upon hearing Wang Yuan's words, Jian Wushuang laughed, although he was extremely furious. Ha ha! Real gods, bullshit! Forget about real gods. Even if an almighty at the level of a Sir God or Emperor God were to kill my brothers, I would want him dead as well. Jian Wushuang's words caused everyone present to be shocked. From Jian Wushuang's words, they could also tell that Jian Wushuang seemed to not spare a glance for real gods. Old Three, you are able to kill real gods? Wang Yuan opened his eyes wide and asked. Jian Nantian, Su Rou, and the rest of the people also looked at Jian Wushuang in succession. Humph, real gods. In the years that I have traveled in the eternal chaotic world, I have already killed so many real gods that I have lost count of them. Even almighties who are above real gods, I have also killed more than 5 of them. For these 13 Devil Bloods, or whatever they are called, even if they were top chaotic real gods, it would be easy for me to kill them, Jian Wushuang said in a deep voice. Upon hearing that, Everyone was first stunned. After that, they were over the moon. Wang Yuan cried tears of joy. That's great. That's great, old three. We must avenge them. You must really avenge second brother. Old three, old two cannot die for nothing. Su Ro also said earnestly, kill all of them. Destroy the 13 devil bloods. The 13 devil bloods had done all kinds of evil. For many years, the whole Green Fire Palace has been crushed under their feet, and we only dared to be furious but not say anything. If not for us controlling the great space-time formation nearby, which caused the 13 devil bloods to be worried, they would have gone on a killing spree and killed all of us a long time ago. And now, kill, kill, kill. They have to die. Everyone in the area unleashed shocking, murderous intents in succession. In the Green Fire world, countless cultivators hated the 13 devil bloods to the bone. However, they suffered from a lack of abilities. However, at that time, Jian Wushuang, the savior who had turned things around with his power alone at the critical moment back then in the great battle with the Jin Kingdom, had returned. This had allowed them to see hope. Just then, Jian Nanshan's expression changed abruptly. What's wrong? Jian Wushuang looked at Jian Nantian. The people from the Devil Church have come to our doorstep, Jian Nantian said. Oh, Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold at once. Chapter 1794, Devil Church Green Fire Palace. Outside the huge war fortress, over 10 crimson-dressed figures stood there arrogantly. The 3 leading figures were all universe gods, and the rest were all universe masters. Swoosh! A gray-dressed elderly flew out from the war fortress. The gray-dressed elderly was a universe god from Green Fire Palace. Devil Church, what are you doing here? The gray-dressed elderly looked at over 10 people before him, and he looked distressed. The master of Devil Church told us to pass you this list. Our master instructed Green Fire Palace to gather all the treasures on the list within a year. If you fail to do so, we will compensate it with the lives of the experts from Green Fire Palace. A purple-haired universe god that led the group from Devil Church said coldly. Be *starred. The gray-dressed elderly looked at the treasures on the list and grew furious. Why? You Green Fire Palace has the guts to go against our Mr. Blood Devil's order? The purple-haired universe god glanced at the gray-dressed elderly, and he looked in disdain. Hearing Mr. Blood Devil's name, the gray-dressed elderly quivered in fear. He held back his anger, but didn't lose his temper. Then, in the war fortress, many figures gathered and watched the scene outside with layers of prohibition behind the war fortress. These are the people from Devil Church. Jian Wushuang's gaze grew cold. Yes, Wang Yuan nodded. All these years, Devil Church grew stronger day by day. Besides the strongest 13 blood devils, there are many experts under their command. The experts are mostly people who are of an evil disposition. For instance, the universe god who was talking just then is truly a demon. He once massacred wantonly in Green Fire World. Then Void Temple got angry and wanted to kill him. He was a person hated by everyone. After that, he joined Devil Church and has 13 blood devils as his backers, so he behaves even more wantonly. As for the list he gave, Devil Church will give us a list every once in a while, and they want Green Fire Palace to gather the treasure and resources on the list in a given time. In the beginning, the treasure and resources that they asked for weren't much, so Green Fire Palace dismissed them like the plague. However, the treasure and resources that Devil Church asked for are becoming more and more. They are simply treating Green Fire Palace as a treasury. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. Tell the universe god from Green Fire Palace to come back. Wang Yuan nodded and sent a message to the gray-dressed elderly. Very soon, The gray-dressed elderly returned to the war fortress. The experts of Devil Church awaited Greenfire Palace's reply. Just then, swoosh, swoosh, there were two figures that appeared in front of the experts from Devil Church from nowhere. Die! A low bellow and a cold-looking young man who was carrying a sword attacked. Just a simple swing lit up the universe. There were over 10 experts from Devil Church, and the strongest among them was only a universe god in the first heaven. In Hishio's eyes, they were a non-entity. They had yet to respond, and they were killed by the sword light straight away. Over 10 experts from Devil Church died with one stroke. Then Hishio and Chiou walked into the war fortress. Hishio and Chiou walked through the prohibition and came before Jian Wushuang to bow politely. Old three, these two are? Wang Yuan looked at the two of them in shock. One of them is my disciple, and the other one is my maidservant, Jian Wushuang introduced calmly. Disciple? Maidservant? Everyone was surprised. His disciple was already this strong. Just how strong was he, as the master? Boss Wang Yuan, get me detailed information about Devil Church, including the locations of the 13 blood devils, their relatives, friends, and experts under their command, Jian Wushuang said. Sure. Wang Yuan nodded and said, Old three, those people earlier were sent by the 13 blood devils. Now that they're dead, the 13 blood devils definitely know. If not mistaken, in no time they will be here. Is that so? Jian Wushuang smirked coldly. Let them come then. Greenfire Palace was well founded in Greenfire World. Even though they were suppressed by Devil Church all these years, the inside information was not something Devil Church could compare to. In terms of information, they were far ahead of Devil Church. According to Jian Wushuang's instructions, Greenfire Palace's huge information system immediately started to operate. At the same time, the 13 blood devils in Greenfire World had already received the news that the people that they had sent were killed. The 13 blood devils were furious. Humph, Greenfire Palace, they have guts. They thought they controlled the formation, and we of Devil Church would not dare to touch them? Such a joke. It seems that we didn't attack for many years, and Greenfire Palace isn't as fearful of us as before. Let's carry out a massacre. Old Nine, you take care of this. Among the 13 blood devils, the one who was in the 9th place departed personally to Greenfire Palace. Although they only sent one person, the blood devils weren't worried at all. After all, the 13 blood devils were all supreme existences in Greenfire World. One person's strength alone was sufficient to wipe out the entire Greenfire Palace. In no time, the blood devil in the 9th place arrived outside the war fortress. Jian Nantian, Wang Yuan, you two rubbish, come and die. A hoarse yet disdainful voice was heard from the blood devil's mouth. It rang across the universe and traveled into the war fortress. Greenfire Palace was led by Jian Nantian and Wang Yuan. Jian Nantia was the strongest, while Wang Yuan was best at making elixirs. In the war fortress, under the layers of prohibitions, there were a large number of figures standing there. These were all experts from Greenfire Palace. There was a total of a few thousand people. The experts could see the blood devil with the prohibition in between. They could feel the terrifying aura soaring from the blood devil, and they looked pale, too strong. The 13 blood devils, any one of them is an unrivaled existence. It is said that when the 13 blood devils destroyed Tang of the East, only one blood devil fought. He killed all the higher-ups of Tang of the East with a snap of his fingers. With us Greenfire Palace alone, how could we withstand the blood devils? Most of the people in Greenfire World didn't know Jian Wushuang had returned. Even if they knew, they weren't confident. After all, they had never seen Jian Wushuang in action. However, they had experienced the scariness of the blood devil in Green Fire World long ago. Just as everyone was quivering in fear, there was a figure in the war fortress that flew out. He flew in front of the blood devil. He was in a crimson robe, carrying a sword. His face was cold, as though it had been covered with a layer of frost. The moment he appeared, he immediately became the attention of the universe. Everyone couldn't help but look at him. Chapter 1795, Ruthless Massacre. When the Devil Blood, who originally did not spare a glance for the Green Fire Palace, saw Jian Wushuang walking toward him slowly, his eyes shrank. "Who are you?" the Devil Blood questioned, and he was surprised. It should be known that he was a real god. Moreover, he was a top eternal real god. In the end, he could not see through the other party's aura. "My name is Jian Wushuang. You might have heard of me before." Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. Jian Wushuang, the Devil Blood, was stunned. After that, he laughed loudly. "I thought that you were someone else. So it's the top genius who has killed the monarch of the Jin Kingdom 50,000 years ago with his power alone. Even though you have left the Green Fire World to travel in the eternal chaotic world, you are still able to return alive. You are indeed somewhat capable." After knowing Jian Wushuang's identity, the Devil Blood did not have any more concerns. It should be known that Jian Wushuang had only just had the fighting capabilities of a universe god 50,000 years ago. How powerful could he be after 50,000 years? At best, wouldn't he just be a normal real god? "Jian Wushuang, you should not have returned. The Green Fire World is no longer the Green Fire World that you were once in." The Devil Blood laughed. "To me, it's the same," Jian Wushuang said indifferently. "Is that so?" The Devil Blood grinned. "Forget it. I shall stop talking to you unnecessarily. Instead, I shall get rid of you straight away so that you will understand that the Green Fire World changed a long time ago. Go to hell." As soon as his words left his mouth, the Devil Blood moved fiercely. The enormous amount of aura from an eternal real god was then unleashed, and it exerted pressure on Jian Wushuang. The Devil Blood swung his palm with lightning speed. A crimson sharp claw then ripped open the universe and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The moment the Devil Blood attacked, the large number of experts in the war fortress of the Green Fire World became dumbfounded at once. The abilities that the Blood Devil unleashed caused them to give up all hope. However, just then, as the crimson sharp claw of the Devil Blood was about to come into contact with Jian Wushuang's head, Jian Wushuang raised his head. "Die!" An icy cold voice was blurted out. Jian Wushuang did not make any movements at all, and he only said one word. However, that word alone contained the frightening god power of an emperor god. The god power was very impressive, and it exerted pressure as though a giant constellation had fallen. Bam! The Devil Blood's body burst open straight away and turned into a huge amount of blood mist. The Devil Blood did not experience any pain. In addition, his consciousness had not even reacted as well, and he burst open instantly. When the large number of experts in the war fortress saw the great amount of blood mist falling to the bottom, all of them were extremely dumbfounded. "He's dead. The invincible Devil Blood has been killed." He didn't do anything? Indeed, he did not do anything. Instead, he merely relied on the pressure in his aura to burst open a Devil Blood. Countless sounds of gasping could be heard. At the next moment, they burst into an uproar, as well as cheers. Quite a number of experts still doubted Jian Wushuang's abilities. However, at that moment, all their doubts were gone. Old Three! Wang Yuan and Su Ro were over the moon. "This is the son of me, Jian Nantian." Jian Nantian clenched both his fists tightly and looked at Ji Wuming, who was beside him. Both of them were extremely emotional. "This junior of mine, Shui Lingtian gasped in admiration. Everyone was filled with an excitement that could not be concealed. Only He Xiao and Qiu, you were extremely calm. This piece of trash is merely an eternal real god. Yet he still dared to attack Master. He Xiao laughed disdainfully. Just then, Jian Wushuang, who had killed the devil blood, returned to the war fortress. Boss Wang Yuan, has the information on the devil church been prepared? Jian Wushuang questioned. It has been prepared, and it is here. Wang Yuan handed a token over to Jian Wushuang. After receiving it, Jian Wushuang glanced through it. He then nodded his head and said, "Let's go to the green fire world." "Why are we going there?" Wang Yuan asked subconsciously. "To kill people." Jian Wushuang's voice was calm and low. The two continents, the Samsara continent and the Void continent, still existed in the green fire world. The two former overlords, the Void Temple and the Samsara Temple, were still present as well. However, their power and positions were no longer like the past. At that moment, the Devil Church had the most authority in the green fire world. In a garden in an extremely huge castle, a crimson-haired stalwart man was lying on the grass lazily. He wore a gentle smile and looked very understanding toward others. However, the tens of surrounding maids serving him knew very well how frightening and evil an existence the stalwart man was. In the Devil Church, there were 13 devil bloods. With respect to his abilities, although this crimson-haired stalwart man was ranked 11th, he was the most evil devil blood. All of a sudden, a gust of cold wind blew by. The body of the maid, who was originally massaging the legs of the crimson-haired stalwart man, shook, and she exerted some extra force in her hands. The crimson-haired stalwart man looked at the maid abruptly, and the gentle smile that he wore on his face was charming. However, he raised his finger slightly. Upon seeing that, the maid's expression turned ghastly pale at once. Swish! A saber light swept past the arm of the maid right away and cut off her whole arm. After that, the crimson-haired stalwart man grabbed the maid's arm and started to eat it by biting it. After some time, he had eaten the arm completely, to the point that his whole mouth was filled with blood. Ha! The taste is not too bad. After the crimson-haired stalwart man finished eating, he laughed loudly. After that, he moved his finger again and cut off the other arm of the maid. He then started to eat it. The surrounding maids who served him trembled with fear, and they did not dare to say anything. As for the maid whose arms had been cut off, her face was filled with hopelessness. Just then, buzz! An astonishing power came. All of a sudden, the crimson-haired stalwart man's smile froze, and his eyes became filled with fear. After that, his consciousness dissipated right away. A crimson-robed figure appeared behind the crimson-haired stalwart man abruptly, and he extended his big hands to grab the crimson-haired stalwart man's head. After twisting his head off, he disappeared again. The maids around him were completely stunned. As they looked at the headless body in front of them, they became shocked. However, they were delighted. Dead. This devil is finally dead. The maid whose 2 arms had been cut off laughed loudly at once. In the void, Jian Wushuang's body appeared again, and his hands were holding a head. Upon seeing the head, the thousands of experts from the Green Fire Palace who had hurried over became extremely astonished. This is the second one. Jian Wushuang had an ice-cold expression. After putting the head in his hands into his Qian Kuan ring, he set off again. The massacre was still ongoing. The Devil Church had a total of 13 devil bloods. In particular, a portion of them had always stayed in the base of the church. However, some of them stayed in different places and became the tyrants of that place. As for who Jian Wushuang was currently looking for, he was looking for those tyrants. With Jian Wushuang's absolute abilities, the devil bloods who had dispersed everywhere were killed mercilessly. Chapter 1796. Devil Chich's lair in a day's time. Jian Wushuang went to a few places and killed a total of 7 blood devils. The experts from Green Fire Palace were even more astonished. One should know that a day's time. To them, it wasn't even enough for them to rush their journey, let alone kill the blood devils. Next is to Devil Chich's lair. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold. According to the information that Green Fire Palace had found, the remaining 6 blood devils from Devil Church were in the lair. Jian Wushuang then led the experts from Green Fire Palace to Devil Chich's lair. Devil Chich's lair was originally in Tang of the East, the imperial city in Tang of the East. Old 3, that's where Devil Chich's lair is at. Wang Yuan pointed at a huge city engulfed in a crimson fog in front. It was originally the imperial city in Tang of the East, but it was renamed to Devil City. Theoretically, Devil City has blood devils attending to garrison duty personally, so there is no one from Green Fire World that dares to act wildly here. However, somehow or other, the 13 blood devils from Devil Church still joined forces to set up a huge formation in the city. The power of the formation is impressive. Is it? Jian Wushuang looked calm. He glanced at Devil City, then he raised his palm and pointed at Devil City from afar. He pointed, The huge formation that covered Devil City instantly cracked without any struggle. The formation broke, and the experts from Devil Church and Devil City were immediately startled. Countless figures soared into the air. Those leading were, of course, the remaining 6 blood devils. Be *starred. Green Fire Palace, how dare you? The 6 blood devils were angry, and they let out roars. But very soon, their attentions were caught by the person in front of the people from Green Fire Palace. This person, the 6 blood devils exchanged a look, and they were surprised. The 6 of them were the higher-ranked among the blood devils. Among the 6 of them, there were 3 who had already reached the level of chaotic real god. But they couldn't see through Jian Wushuang's aura. They could feel that Jian Wushuang was powerful, but they couldn't tell which level Jian Wushuang was at. Hey, who are you? A bald man among the 6 blood devils asked in a deep voice. The bald man was the number 1 boss among the 13 blood devils. Green Fire Palace, Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang said calmly, It's you. The 6 blood devils were surprised, and they had obviously heard of Jian Wushuang before. I never expected you to return from Eternal Chaotic World. The bald man smirked coldly. Jian Wushuang, I think you are a genius. Why did you return when you were doing so well in Eternal Chaotic World? I came back to take revenge. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. He then waved, and there were heads that were thrown out. There were 13 blood devils, and I have killed 7. Now, there are only 6 of you left. Looking at the heads floating in the void, the 6 blood devils who were originally calm were raging. Be *starred. How dare you kill our brothers? The bad man was angry. Not only them, but all of you also have to die. Jian Wushuang looked expressionless. A simple reply seemed to have announced a death sentence for the 6 of them. Don't think you are unmatched after you killed my 7 brothers. Today, I will turn Green Fire Palace into a bloodbath and take revenge on the behalf of my 7 brothers. The bald man let out a cold humph. Let's do this together and kill him. Hung, 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 hung. 6 fierce auras instantly exploded. Any one of the 6 auras could make countless experts from Green Fire Palace feel hopeless. However, to Jian Wushuang, they were too weak. Die. With just one word, it wasn't the pressure of divine might, but 5 fine sword intentions that appeared in front of him. The 5 fine sword intentions swept out, and the speed was so fast that the few real gods couldn't even see the shadow. Pist, 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 pist. 5 sword lights pierced the eyebrows of 5 blood devils. Instantly, there were 5 bodies falling. The 6 blood devils were soaring with rage and wanted to attack Jian Wushuang, but there were 5 of them that died instantly, and only the bald man was left standing there. How is it possible? The bald man's eyes were wide, and he looked at Jian Wushuang with a horrified look. It was as though he had seen a ghost. It stirred billowing waves in the bottom of his heart. He had heard about Jian Wushuang before, and he knew about Jian Wushuang's outstanding achievements. Even though Jian Wushuang had once brought about a radical change in the war against Jin Kingdom, Jian Wushuang was nothing in his eyes. Because Jian Wushuang had only been a universe god then, and he was already a real god, a chaotic real god. He had thought killing a universe god was as easy as killing an ant. Hence, he didn't care about Jian Wushuang at all in the beginning. Even when Jian Wushuang had returned, he had reckoned that Jian Wushuang was only slightly bigger than an ant, and he didn't care. But who would have guessed that Jian Wushuang had become so ferocious? He had become so powerful. The 13 blood devils were like babies before Jian Wushuang. Do you know why I didn't kill you? Jian Wushuang took 1 step forward and stood 10 meters before the bald man. His cold gaze fixed onto the bald man, and he was looking at him as though he was looking at an ant. No, even worse than an ant. Why? The bald man stuttered. Because I don't want you to die so easily. Jian Wushuang said coldly, back when you 13 blood devils destroyed Tang of the East, you were the one who killed the higher-ups of Tang of the East, right? You did it personally, right? The bald man stuttered, and he was at a loss for words. Do you know that among the people that you killed, there was my benefactor, my wife's father, and my brother? Jian Wushuang uttered every word clearly, and there was boundless rage and hatred in his eyes. Old, too young Zhaixuan, Emperor Tang, Emperor Shao, which one of them were not related to him? They had died because of the 13 blood devils, because of non-entity-like people. For them, I will not let you die so quickly. I have to torture you for 1,000 years. No, for 10,000 years. I want you to live in complete agony. Try this, Jian Wushuang said, and there was crimson light that burst out of his eyes. The crimson light was brilliant, and it looked just like a crimson sun. The moment the bald man saw the crimson light, he was dumbfounded. Suddenly, rumble, a boundless prison engulfed him. Secret skill of soul attack, 18 Azura, hell, descended. Chapter 1797. The mastermind, the 18 Azura, hell was a soul attack secret skill that was used specially to torture people. For the person who was attacked, if his consciousness were not strong enough and he was unable to block or fight his way out of the secret skill, what awaited him would be endless torture. For this secret skill, Jian Wushuang used it frequently when he was still a universe god. However, ever since he had made a breakthrough to become an ultimate real god, he rarely used it. Although he did not use it frequently, he had long mastered this secret skill completely when his absolute abilities were combined with his current soul level. By unleashing it then, what awaited the bald-headed man was torture from 18 hells. Ah! Hysterical roars could be heard from the bald-headed man. The bald-headed man's eyes had turned a scarlet color a long time ago, and he was completely insane. No. Spare my life. Please spare my life. I beg of you. The bald-headed man had started to beg for his life crazily. As Jian Wushuang's soul level increased, the tortures would become more frightening when the secret skill was unleashed. It was unleashed with Jian Wushuang's full power, and even top experts in the real god ranking list might be unable to endure the hell's torture in the secret skill let alone the bald-headed man. Madness and hysteria. Everyone that moment could see the bald-headed man's expression clearly. With regards to that, no one from the Green Fire Palace pitied him in the slightest. Instead, they were extremely delighted and excited like never before. For the past few years, the Green Fire Palace had been suppressed badly by the Devil Church. Their hatred of the Devil Church was definitely not weaker than of the Gene Kingdom back then. As for the bald-headed man, he was the boss of the 13 Devil Bloods in the Devil Church, and he was experiencing a great amount of pain from the torture. As for his 12 other brothers, all of them were killed. After a long time, the bald-headed man experienced all kinds of tortures in the 18 hells, and his consciousness had also started to recover slowly. However, at that moment, he was completely exhausted, and his face had long become twisted to its maximum. Moreover, his eyes were still scarlet like before. "Kill me! I beg of you to kill me!" A soft voice could be heard from the bald-headed man. He had already lost all hope. At that moment, he only wished to die quickly. With that, he would be freed. "Do you think that it will be so easy for you to die?" Jian Wushuang laughed coldly. After that, the Blood Mountain sword behind him left its scabbard abruptly. Buzz! The Blood Mountain sword turned into a lofty mountain instantly and suppressed the bald-headed man. The first devil blood, right away. With the first devil blood suppressed, the whole universe became deathly silent temporarily. However, at the next moment, there was a huge uproar. The uproar naturally came from the Green Fire Palace. At that moment, a large number of experts in the Green Fire Palace were roaring hysterically, and quite a number of them were crying tears of joy. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. A great number of figures headed toward Jian Wushuang at the same time. Old Three. Wang Yuan and Su Ro looked at Jian Wushuang with tears. Similarly, everyone else was extremely emotional. Dead. The 13 Devil Bloods are all dead. The 13 devils are finally dead. Haha, great, this is great. With the death of the 13 Devil Bloods, the Devil Church can be destroyed in a split second. With that, the Green Fire world will regain its peace. A huge number of experts spoke in succession, and their eyes, which were looking at Jian Wushuang, were scorching hot and also filled with adoration. However, upon hearing that, Jian Wushuang shook his head. This matter has not come to a complete end yet. Jian Nantian and the rest of the people looked at Jian Wushuang with surprise. The 13 Devil Bloods were already dead. Hence, wouldn't the Devil Church not have any room to struggle at all? Why had it not ended yet? Jian Wushuang did not say anything. Instead, he turned his body slowly and continued heading toward the lofty Devil City. In no time, he appeared at the void on top of the Devil City, and he looked down with his icy cold eyes. "Even though you have witnessed your subordinates being killed by me one by one, you still remained indifferent. You are really able to bear with all of this?" Jian Wushuang's loud voice resounded across the whole universe. His voice spread in all directions and flooded each and every corner of the Devil City. Upon hearing Jian Wushuang's words, everyone from the Green Fire Palace opened their eyes wide. Weren't the strongest people in the Devil Church the 13 Devil Bloods? Could it be? Wang Yuan's heart beat fiercely. After Jian Wushuang's voice reverberated across the area, the Devil City below him was still extremely peaceful like before, and there were no changes. "Haha, you are still trying to deceive yourself and all of us. Forget it. Since you are unwilling to come out, I shall drag you out." Jian Wushuang laughed apathetically. Divine power then gathered in his hands, and he swung his palm out toward the bottom abruptly. Rumble! The palm expanded quickly in the void, and it became a big hand which could blot out the sky and the run instantly, covering the whole Devil City as a result. The giant palm descended, and countless buildings of the huge Devil City, as well as some cultivators of the Devil Church who still stayed in the Devil City, were turned into fine powder. Frightening power spread in all directions madly, and in just an instant, the Devil City disappeared. What replaced it was a huge and boundless pit. The pit was in complete darkness and bottomless as well. However, at the same time that the pit appeared, an extremely powerful aura, which was similar to that of a gigantic dragon, awakened slowly at the deepest part of the pit. Frightening aura flooded the whole area. In no time, the color of the universe changed, and the whole void was covered with a kind of dense crimson cloud instantly. After that, a tattered, Taoist-robed, stalwart old man rose slowly and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang in the end. Upon seeing the person who had come, Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank. As for the experts of the Green Fire Palace, all of them turned pale with fright. As expected, the Devil Church still had someone who was more powerful. I thought that my way of concealing myself was extremely superb, and I should be able to escape your soul's examination. How did you notice me? The stalwart, Taoist-robed old man asked. It's simple. Firstly, it's the 13 devil bloods. Although they had become real gods, their auras were a lot weaker than other people's who were of a similar realm as them. Moreover, their foundations were extremely weak. If my guess is not wrong, they had entered the realm of real gods with the help of some great techniques of someone else. As for the abilities that they originally possessed, they should be so weak that it was depressing. In addition, the most important thing was the big formation of the Devil City. While the big formation looked as though it was a defensive formation deployed to guard against anything unexpected, I could tell with a glance that it was a huge spirit collecting great formation that collected the infinite amount of spiritual power of the universe. Moreover, the location that the spiritual power was gathered to was not outside the Devil City. Instead, it was at the deepest part of the Devil City. By combining the 2 points above, I came to the conclusion that a real expert definitely existed in the deepest part of the Devil City. As for the 13 devil bloods, they were merely puppets. Looking at it now, I was right. However, the only thing that I did not expect was that the expect who controlled the 13 devil bloods would actually be you. Dao Yuanzi. Murderous intent emerged in Jian Wushuang's eyes hastily. Chapter 1798. Dao Yuanzi, looking at the evil-looking elderly in Taoist robe, Jian Wushuang's murderous intention increased to its maximum. Dao Yuanzi. This was a name that Jian Wushuang would never forget in his life. A long time ago, there was a war during the contest of son-in-law to marry Lung Wushuang. Back then, Emperor Lung, who had controlled Tang of the East, his greatest trump card was the teacher of the state, Dao Yuanzi. The war had involved many people, and even King Gu Tong came forth personally. In the end, Dao Yuanzi had revealed his bucktooth and exposed his intention to refine all living things in Tang of the East in order to recover his power, and made Tang of the East fall into an impasse. In the end, Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate to absorb the blood essence of King Luo Jin ahead of time, and had exploded a terrifying power to make use of River Mountain Map. Then, he had managed to make a drastic change in the situation. During the battle, Dao Yuanzi should have been killed by Jian Wushuang. However, Dao Yuanzi was standing before him now, and his power had reached a brand new level. Just like the 13 blood devils, the weakest was an eternal real god, and even a few chaotic real gods. They were forcefully leveled up by Dao Yuanzi with great measures. Dao Yuanzi could make 13 real gods so casually, and his power, even Jian Wushuang didn't dare to belittle his power. He Jian Wushuang, it has been so many years since we last met. The evil-looking elderly in Taoist robe, Dao Yuanzi, looked at Jian Wushuang with a malicious smile. You should have been killed by me back then. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold. Killed? Hee hee. You only killed a blood devil clone that I substantiated. Dao Yuanzi sneered. Blood devil clone? Jian Wushuang creased his eyebrows. Humph, speaking of blood devil clone, Dao Yuanzi's voice suddenly became cold. I was trapped in the battlefield nearby, and my power was at its weakest. I couldn't recover with my effort alone, so I spent many years to accumulate and finally substantiated a blood devil clone that could roam around freely. Although the blood devil clone was weaker, as long as I set up a formation and absorbed massive life force, my original Boda's power could be recovered very quickly. At first, everything was going according to my plan. Even the life-devouring formation was already set up. But who would have known that I'd run into you? You exterminated my blood devil clone, and all my effort and accumulation over the years was in vain. Jian Wushuang, I really hated you to the bone back then. I was dying to slaughter you. Then, Dao Yuanzi's gaze let out boundless murderous intention, but it quickly dispersed. Luckily, God was good to me. Not long after my blood devil clone was exterminated, the spiritual energy of the battlefield gradually increased and became more intense. With such spiritual energy, my recovery rate naturally increased tremendously. In no time, my original body finally could leave the battlefield. Haha, as long as my original body is not restricted, isn't it easy to recover my power? As for what happened next, you should pretty much know. Dao Yuanzi smiled. Jian Wushuang knew. Next, Dao Yuanzi had naturally come to Green Fire World and controlled the 13 blood devils to plunder a large amount of resources. Relying on the resources and the formations that gather souls, Dao Yuanzi had been trying to recover his power until Jian Wushuang came. You have been trapped in the battlefield and never recovered your power over so many years. If so, you should be an ancient expert that was left in the battlefield at the border of Green Fire World. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. Ancient expert? Hee hee, you could say so, Dao Yuanzi admitted. Jian Wushuang nodded when he heard his reply. If so, everything made sense. Green Fire World was sealed off from the outside world. It was almost impossible for any ordinary people wanted to come in with normal method and not be noticed by experts from Green Fire Palace. In Jian Wushuang's knowledge, there were two that didn't belong to Green Fire World, but Green Fire Palace didn't know. One was King Gutong. Second was Dao Yuanzi. King Gutong came to the battlefield via a gap in ancient mystery land. Jian Wushuang had already found out about that. As for Dao Yuanzi, Jian Wushuang had been curious until then. He finally found out that Dao Yuanzi had turned out to be an ancient expert. He wasn't from eternal chaotic world, but from the surrounding vast, ancient battlefield. Of course, besides Dao Yuanzi, Green Fire World had many other secrets, such as the existence of his master. On top of that, there was Star Foggy Sea. Star Foggy Sea had been created by the Master of Star Palace, but it had appeared in Green Fire World and King of Venomous Worms. Jian Wushuang had once asked King of Venomous Worms about how he had come to Green Fire World, but King of Venomous Worms' reply was that he had come along with Star Foggy Sea. There was definitely a unique relationship between them. Jian Wushuang. Dao Yuanzi looked at Jian Wushuang. I never expected that your power would increase to such a level within 50,000 years. Even the 13 blood devils that I created, you could kill them so easily. It's a pity that you came back too late. Too late. Jian Wushuang was surprised. Hee hee, if you had returned earlier, like 1,000 years earlier, I might have been fearful when I saw you. But now, Dao Yuanzi chuckled maliciously. Just as he stopped chuckling, rumble, the originally extremely fierce aura instantly increased once again. The speed of increment was terrifying fast. It immediately exceeded the range of the 13 blood devils and reached another level, and it continued to rise. Jian Wushuang focused his gaze. In his perception, Dao Yuanzi's aura had reached the top of chaotic real God and constantly rose to the extreme limit of a chaotic real God, and he broke through the barrier in the end and had reached the level of an almighty. Dao Yuanzi's aura had only slowed down at this stage. Sir God! Jian Wushuang looked cold. Dao Yuanzi's aura had already escalated to the level of an almighty, to the level of Sir God. However, if he was merely at the level of a Sir God, Jian Wushuang wouldn't be worried. It's a pity. Although Green Fire World's spiritual energy has reached a certain level, it only started to change not long ago, and there wasn't a natural treasure. Without the assistance of natural treasure, my power could only recover to this level for now. However, it should be sufficient to kill you. Dao Yuanzi smiled faintly. He was confident in himself. Chapter 1799. Frightening abilities kill me? With just a mere Sir God like you? Jian Wushuang looked at Dao Yuanzi with cold eyes. Sir God? Ha! The era that I was in did not have anything like Sir Gods. Instead, we only had the pure Sun realm and chaotic realm. As for my current realm, it is the chaotic realm. Dao Yuanzi laughed. Perhaps the chaotic realm is similar to the Sir God realm that you mentioned. However, even in similar realms, let me tell you how big the gap between the chaotic realm and a Sir God is. As soon as his words left his mouth, Dao Yuanzi shook slightly. After that, his body disappeared from the void. Jian Wushuang's expression turned grave, and he spread his soul power completely. However, he was totally unable to find any traces of Dao Yuanzi. It was as though Dao Yuanzi had completely disappeared from the universe. As Jian Wushuang was looking for him with a frown, the void behind him broke open abruptly. After that, a stalwart figure came out from it, and an old palm headed toward Jian Wushuang's throat with an infinite amount of people. As the palm headed to Jian Wushuang, the sounds of the wind that it generated caused Jian Wushuang's heart to skip a beat. Behind you! Jian Wushuang reacted immediately. As his eyes turned grave, countless tentacles, which could blot out the sky and cover the earth, came out from behind his back at once and headed to the other party. However, the moment the tentacles touched Dao Yuanzi's palm, many of them were smashed into pieces, as though they were dry weeds and rotten wood that could be crushed and smashed easily respectively. After that, Dao Yuanzi clenched his fist abruptly. With that, the space broke apart completely, and space cracks, which stretched across more than 100,000 miles, started to spread like a spiderweb. Gosh! Retreat quickly! It's too frightening. A large number of experts from the Green Fire Palace retreated hastily at once. All of their eyes were also filled with fear and shock. To them, the power that Dao Yuanzi had unleashed by clenching his fist was enough to kill all of them. However, fortunately, Jian Wushuang had retreated to one side a long time ago, and this big hand did not touch him at all. However, all of a sudden, the big hand, which was clenched tightly into a fist, loosened up fiercely. Swish! 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 5 shrill flittering lights were shot out from the 5 fingers of the big hand. They then pierced the void instantly and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's expression turned grave, and the blood mountain sword behind him left its scabbard at once. Reincarnation sword principle. First move. Swish! The sword light, which contained a great amount of reincarnation power, whistled and tore the void into pieces. At the same time, It repelled the 5 flittering lights which had been shot over. Oh! Dao Yuanzi raised his eyebrows and glanced at Jian Wushuang with surprise. Not bad. You are merely someone in the pure sun realm. However, in terms of the power of your divine power, it is able to rival that of a middle stage chaotic realm. Even I am unable to compete against such a kind of power now. However, it's a pity that it's useless. Dao Yuanzi laughed nonchalantly. While standing at his original position, he swung his palm toward Jian Wushuang again. In no time, Jian Wushuang felt as if the space-time around him were completely sealed off and his body was under great obstructions and attacks. Such a feeling was similar to that of the moon-picking skill, the strongest secret skill of the ancient god, that he could unleash. However, the only difference was that it was his opponent who had unleashed such a kind of move to attack him. Rumble! The void was suppressed to the point that it broke into pieces. A giant hand then appeared out of thin air and grabbed Jian Wushuang's body. With that, an enormous amount of power burst forth as if it wanted to crush Jian Wushuang's body. Humph! Jian Wushuang gave a cold snort, and the ancient god power in his body emerged hastily. At that moment, his body expanded abruptly. With his crazy divine power, the big hand which grabbed Jian Wushuang tightly also started to shake madly. Scram! With a furious cry, Jian Wushuang finally struggled free of the big hand. Moreover, the current him had already turned into a dark golden ancient god that was 100 feet tall. There were also 6 stars in the space between his eyebrows, and he was filled with murderous intent. An ancient god? Ha! It is merely some rare bloodline of the ancient clan. Dao Yuanzi laughed disdainfully. 50,000 years ago, during that shocking battle in Tang of the East, his crimson god clone had fought with King Gutong, who was also seriously injured and was in a weak state. Back then, he could tell that the ancient god's techniques were nothing much. Moreover, he was unwilling to expose the background of his real body and himself. As such, he had pretended to look extremely fearful of a 7-star ancient god. However, in actual fact, he did not care about a mere 7-star ancient god at all. Die! A strict cry resounded in the horizon, and a giant finger, which looked as though it came from the past, descended. The finger contained a tremendous amount of ancient god power, and it was the ancient god's 6th finger, the sun corrosion finger, which Jian Wushuang had unleashed with his full power. Break! Dao Yuanzi merely uttered one word, and with a random swing of his big hand, Jian Wushuang's ancient god's 6th finger was dissipated immediately. How is this possible? Jian Wushuang was extremely terrified. It should be known that he had already achieved stage 3 ultimate real god. Hence, his divine power and body were at the level of an emperor god. In other words, they were at the level of middle stage chaotic realm, which Dao Yuanzi had mentioned. As for Dao Yuanzi, he was currently at the level of a Sir God, early stage chaotic realm. Hence, their powers were one level apart from one another. However, Dao Yuanzi had actually dispelled the attack that he had unleashed easily. On the contrary, Jian Wushuang found it very difficult to deal with the moves that Dao Yuanzi unleashed. Jian Wushuang, I have already said that you have returned too late, Dao Yuanzi sneered. If I had still not regained the abilities of the chaotic realm, and I were still in the pure sun realm, you might still be able to kill me with your abilities. However, now, you had better accept your death obediently. Humph! Jian Wushuang had never talked even once, and he only gave a cold snort. After that, 2 brilliant rays of golden light beside him were shot out abruptly. The 2 rays of golden light were unusually fast. With one on the left and one on the right, they had already appeared in front of Dao Yuanzi. This is the Hongjun Golden Sword? Dao Yuanzi revealed a surprised expression. However, he shook his head after that. They are merely imitations of the Hongjun golden swords. Moreover, you are only able to control 2 of them. Hence, what use is there? Dao Yuanzi laughed with contempt, and 2 shrill lights burst forth from his fingertips. In an instant, the 2 Hongjun golden swords were sent flying for thousands of miles. I shall stop playing with you. Dao Yuanzi lost his patience, and a powerful power gathered slowly in his hands at once. After that, his finger pointed toward Jian Wushuang's position. When the finger was pointed out, the universe was destroyed. Jian Wushuang could see clearly that a pitch-black luster was heading toward his chest. The power that the pitch-black luster contained had caused even Jian Wushuang to be terrified. Ancient gods' unique skill, 8 divine mountains. Bang, 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 bang. All of a sudden, 8 lofty, golden divine mountains descended, and they became 8 obstacles which stood in front of Jian Wushuang. However, the pitch-black luster pierced through the 8 divine mountains as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. After that, it struck Jian Wushuang's body. Jian Wushuang's body retreated tens of thousands of miles at once, and it was only after a long time that he regained his posture. Moreover, there was a clear white spot on his chest. Chapter 1800. Ancient expert, the power of 1 finger could shatter the 8 divine mountain that Jian Wushuang had performed with all his strength and continued to hit Jian Wushuang's body. Its impact made Jian Wushuang retreat 10,000 miles away. The power of the finger could be well imagined. You didn't die? Dao Yuanzi looked at Jian Wushuang with interest. It seems like not only did your divine power reach middle stage chaotic realm, but the same also goes to your divine body. Jian Wushuang's face grew grave. Dao Yuanzi was only a Sir God. How could he be so powerful? Jian Wushuang grew solemn. It was true. Dao Yuanzi was too powerful. He was definitely the scariest Sir God that Jian Wushuang had ever seen, far stronger than any Sir Gods he met before. Even Emperor God Shuigo and Emperor God Tian Shao didn't strike Jian Wushuang with such ferocity. Jian Wushuang, don't belittle your opponent. Don't forget that he is an expert from ancient times. King of Venomous Worm's voice suddenly rang in Jian Wushuang's head. Jian Wushuang, his heart skipped a beat. Yes, an expert from ancient times. The powerful and prosperous ancient times is beyond comparison to the eternal chaotic world that you're in now. Back in ancient times, there were many experts and countless geniuses. With the number of experts, they naturally created many secret skills, and they were all ridiculously strong. The person named Dao Yuanzi in front of you should be far beyond an emperor god when he is at his peak. He could only be stronger, not weaker, when compared with a great emperor. Although his power has only recovered to the level of Sir God, the techniques that he has, such as secret skills, unique skills, and comprehension of doctrines, are definitely at the great emperor level or even higher. With this factor alone, his overall power will be much stronger than ordinary emperor gods. Hence, don't belittle him and don't compete with him in terms of close combat skills. You won't be his match. The best way is to utilize all your trump cards and suppress him with power and strength, King of Venomous Worms said. Suppress with power and strength? I happen to share the same idea. Jian Wushuang nodded heavily. Whatever King of Venomous Worms said, he thought about too, an expert from ancient times. Even if he could only give play to the strength of Sir God level, his fighting power was definitely not measured according to an ordinary Sir God level. Then Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate but flipped his palm, and a scroll painting appeared in his hand. As Jian Wushuang threw the scroll painting into the void, there was a beautiful and boundless scroll painting world that appeared in the sky above. A boundless aura spread down from the scroll-painting world. Dao Yuanzi, you should be very familiar with this scene, right? Jian Wushuang said, Of course I am. Over 50,000 years ago, you used this treasure to kill my blood devil clone. Back then, I thought your treasure would be just an ordinary chaos divine treasure. But from what it seems, it isn't that simple. Dao Yuanzi squinted his eyes as he looked at the sky above. He could feel a supreme aura from the scroll-painting world. Humph! Then you should feel the power of this treasure again today. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold. As he spoke, there was a lofty continent that extended from the scroll-painting world. 9-province second seal, Hack the Earth, suddenly descended. This aura, Dao Yuanzi's face grew grave. Just as the lofty continent descended, he felt a familiar aura. The aura dated back to many years ago during the ancient war, when he had felt a similar aura. I remember now. This treasure is River Mountain Map. It's 7-star black sex River Mountain Map. You're 7-star black sex man. Dao Yuanzi looked at Jian Wushuang with a horrified look. 7-star black sect was the main participant in the ancient war. They were also one of the overlords in ancient times. An ancient and powerful sect. Even Dao Yuanzi was fearful. But suddenly, Dao Yuanzi shook his head vigorously. No way, it's impossible that you're 7-star black sex man. 7-star black sect should have been destroyed in the ancient war back then. Even if they survived by sheer luck, to be able to survive the war back then, one's power would definitely be above your level. You must have gotten this River Mountain Map by luck. It is definitely so. Dao Yuanzi instantly believed in his judgment. In the sky, the lofty continent descended and pressed on him. He smirked coldly. Hee, although the treasure is great, you must be able to give full play to its power. Watch me as I withstand your move and kill you next to get this treasure. Dao Yuanzi chuckled coldly, and there was a thick crimson fog that soared up from his body. At the same time, he lifted his hands and moved his fingers as though he was playing a string musical instrument. Wow. There was a total of 10 crimson lights that burst out. It almost hit the lofty continent that was descending instantly. The bottom of the lofty continent was immediately pierced, and there were 10 holes. Then the entire continent started to collapse. Hack the Earth that Jian Wushuang had performed with all his strength was shattered by Dao Yuanzi easily. Hee, 7-star black sex River Mountain Map. This treasure is wasted in your hands. Dao Yuanzi sneered. Jian Wushuang wasn't surprised by what happened. His divine power revolved madly and continued to flow into the sky above. Dao Yuanzi, isn't it too early to celebrate? A loud roar reverberated in the universe. Then Jian Wushuang slapped a few palm prints in the sky above. Rumble. The universe shook and a brand new continent descended. The continent was much bigger than the one before, and the power was obviously much stronger. 9-province seal. The third move, Yang province as the seal, was called Overwhelm the Rain. Ever since Jian Wushuang had broken through and become a third-stage ultimate real god, his overall power had increased tremendously, and his divine power had transformed completely. Hence, he finally got to perform this move. In terms of power, Overwhelm the Rain was a few times stronger than the second move. Hack the Earth. At that moment, Overwhelm the Rain descended, and the billowing pressure pressed the void. The entire void started shaking vigorously. Looking at the scene, Dao Yuanzi was surprised, but he wasn't concerned. Much stronger than the earlier move, but that's it. Don't be in a hurry. Jian Wushuang lifted the corners of his lips. As he spoke, he suddenly patted in between his eyebrows with his right hand. Bang! Bang! 2 ancient god stars broke apart instantly. Secret skill of ancient god. Star destruction skill. An ancient god would use this skill in the last critical moment when he went all out. It was also one of Jian Wushuang's trump cards. The more ancient god stars an ancient god broke, the more his power would increase in a short time. However, it would be more difficult to recover after as well. Chapter 1801. Give me a reason for the battle in the Buddhist demon sea back. Then, Jian Wushuang had used all his tricks and also destroyed all his 6 stars. In the end, even with the king of venomous worms helping him to recover with its full power, he had still used a total of close to 8,000 years to recover completely. This time around, although only 2 stars were destroyed, his abilities as a whole still increased greatly at once. The moment 2 of his ancient god stars were destroyed, Jian Wushuang's ancient god power skyrocketed. As for the lofty continent, which was descending with a rumbling sound, its power also rose greatly. Upon seeing the changes in the lofty continent, even Dao Yuanzi's expression changed slightly. Looks like he has prepared to give his all. However, this is still not enough. Dao Yuanzi laughed indifferently. Not enough? Then how about this? Jian Wushuang's voice turned heavy, and an unusual power appeared from his body instantly. This power was the star power, Jian Wushuang's strongest trump card. The secret skill of Star Palace was unleashed abruptly at this moment. Boom! The universe shook. With the addition of the star power, the power of the lofty continent, which was already extremely powerful to begin with, rose 100 times instantly. The third move of the 9-province seal with 100 times more power. It was Jian Wushuang's strongest attack. For this attack, Jian Wushuang even had the confidence that it could kill a top emperor god. As for Dao Yuanzi, who had always been extremely calm and collected, when he realized that the power of the lofty continent above him had increased by 100 times, his expression finally changed. The secret skill of 7-star. This is the secret skill of 7-star of the 7-star Black Sect. How is this possible? Dao Yuanzi was gasping with astonishment. He had absolute confidence in his own abilities. Even if Jian Wushuang were stronger than him in terms of power, he did not care at all. Even when Jian Wushuang took out the mountain river map and unleashed a powerful killing move, he could still be unconcerned, as he could block it easily. For example, he had blocked the second move of the 9-province seal easily. As for the third move, it was still within his abilities to block it. However, if the power of such a move were to rise by 100 times, it would be completely different. He was no doubt an expert from the ancient past. However, in the end, his abilities had not recovered yet, and there was a huge gap between them in terms of power. As for Jian Wushuang's current attack, it relied completely on power to suppress him. Moreover, such a power had also caused Dao Yuanzi to be terrified. I will be unable to guard against this attack. Dao Yuanzi had already had such a thought. Jian Wushuang, please stop quickly. We shall call it a day here, and from now on, we shall mind our own business. I will not kill anyone from your green fire world again. Dao Yuanzi's voice, which was obviously filled with anxiety, resounded across the universe. What a joke! Jian Wushuang was filled with murderous intent. If you were to really force me, after my abilities have recovered, I will definitely turn all the living beings in your green fire world into power. Dao Yuanzi continued shouting. Humph, why not say that after you survive this attack of mine? Jian Wushuang ignored him. Damn it! Dao Yuanzi's expression changed greatly. As the lofty continent got closer and closer, he became even more frightened. Moreover, he had a strong feeling of death due to the incoming danger. Devil's heavenly hand. With cracking sounds, a scarlet giant arm appeared from Dao Yuanzi's body. The arm contained an enormous amount of demonic energy, and it attacked with lightning speed with the intention of smashing the lofty continent which was descending into pieces. Bam! With a loud sound, the two attacks finally clashed head-on. As soon as they clashed, a tremendous divine power storm was generated, and it covered a range of 1,000,000 miles. Vast black holes then appeared continuously, and they destroyed everything in the surrounding mercilessly. As for the ground below them, it caved in completely. It was the end of the world. In a void, which was extremely far away from the battlefield, many experts from the Green Fire Palace were looking at the scene in front of them with an unprecedented amount of shock. The scene in front of them was really too frightening. Within the range of 1,000,000 miles, a huge amount of divine power was jumping about madly. The large number of experts from the Green Fire Palace all felt that if they were to step into the 1,000,000 miles range, they would be sliced by the boundless divine power storm into pieces. Such a shocking battle had completely exceeded the standards that the Green Fire world could achieve. Is Dao Yuanzi dead? Countless people were murmuring, and they were all waiting for the results. After a long time, the divine power storm, which covered a range of 1,000,000 miles, finally subsided, and everything dissipated. On the battlefield, there were still two figures standing. However, the only difference was that one of the figures still stood in the void, while the other one had fallen into the underground, and he was barely standing deep inside the underground. Damn it! Dao Yuanzi's expression was ghastly pale, and his body was filled with blood. He was in an extremely miserable state. At that moment, he was gritting his teeth tightly, and his body was also shaking madly. Swoosh! The shadow in the void floated over slowly. Jian Wushuang's ice-cold eyes were staring at Dao Yuanzi. Under such a kind of attack, you are still able to remain alive. As expected of an expert from the ancient past, Jian Wushuang's voice was ice-cold. Damn it! If not for me being seriously injured to begin with, and the fact that I had only recovered to early-stage chaotic realm, do you think that you would be able to defeat me? Dao Yuanzi shouted furiously. Indeed, if you were at your peak where your abilities had recovered to the middle-stage chaotic realm that you mentioned, in a situation where our powers are equally powerful, I would definitely be unable to do anything against you even if I were to use all my trump cards. However, it's a pity as you will not have that opportunity. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold. He then moved his legs and moved toward Dao Yuanzi slowly. A shocking murderous intent also appeared from Jian Wushuang's body slowly. Upon seeing that, Dao Yuanzi's eyes shrank violently. At the same time, he was also terrified. During the clash moments ago, he was seriously injured by Jian Wushuang again. With him getting more injuries on top of his previous injuries at that time, he was totally unable to unleash any more fighting capabilities. As for Jian Wushuang, although he had used his trump card, he still had an abundance of fighting capabilities. Hence, at that moment, it would be easy for Jian Wushuang to kill him. Jian Wushuang, let's have a discussion, Dao Yuanzi said immediately. Jian Wushuang did not stop moving, and his ice-cold voice spread to him. Are you begging me to spare your life? Ha ha! Give me a reason to not kill you. A reason? Dao Yuanzi was stunned. After thinking quickly, he said right away, I am willing to surrender to you. In the future, I will follow all your orders. No matter what you want me to do, I will not say no to you. If you are not confident in me, you can leave a seal or a soul stamp in my body. In the future, I will absolutely not dare to go against you again. Jian Wushuang's face was indifferent, and he did not stop walking. Jian Wushuang, you should know that when I was at my peak, I reached the limit of the chaotic realm. If my abilities were to recover completely, I could definitely be of great help to you. In addition, I could even help you to govern this era so that you will be able to become this era's strongest expert, Dao Yuanzi said pressingly. Ha! Even though you have stayed in the battlefield nearby for so many years and have also used so much energy as well as time to treat your wounds, you have merely recovered to early-stage chaotic realm. Thus, who knows how long you will need to recover to your peak. If a day comes when your abilities have really recovered, then, even without you, I would still be able to stand at the peak of this era. Jian Wushuang sneered, and his murderous intent did not decrease in the slightest. Chapter 1802. Legend Dao Yuanzi saw that Jian Wushuang remained aloof, and he felt terrified. He quickly thought in his head. Very soon, he spoke again. Jian Wushuang, I know that you carry the ancient god bloodline, but ancient gods actually only possesses a very thin bloodline of ancient tribe. I carry blood essence of a true ancient tribe expert. Besides, I know that there is an ancient tribe expert's dead body in the battlefield nearby. It contains the bloodline inheritance of an ancient tribe. I can bring you there. Ancient tribe, bloodline inheritance? Jian Wushuang was curious. Humph, what ancient tribe? I have never heard of it before. I think you just made this up, and your goal is most likely for me to die at an extremely dangerous place. Do you think I'm stupid enough to listen to you? Jian Wushuang let his murderous intention run wild as he raised Blood Mountain Sword in his hand. No, no. I'm telling you the truth. Dao Yuanzi screamed his lungs out, but Jian Wushuang didn't care and slashed with his sword. In the split moment of life and death, Dao Yuanzi suddenly roared, Jian Wushuang, do you want your brother to come back to life? Virum! The sword that already had slashed down suddenly stopped in the midair. The blade was less than half a meter away from Dao Yuanzi's head. Jian Wushuang looked solemn as he stared at Dao Yuanzi. What did you say just now? Come back to life. Dao Yuanzi continued. You are furious because one of your brothers and the other two close relatives died, right? Yes, they died, but they could come back to life. There's a legend that says that on the peak of the universe, there's a super existence on equal footing with Heaven Wei. They could reverse space-time and bring the dead cultivators back to life. Legend! Jian Wushuang's gaze turned cold. Are you fooling me? No, I'm not fooling you. Back in my time, there was really this legend. If there's a legend, there must really be such a super existence. How could such a super existence pass away so easily? This super existence might be in one of the corners in the battlefield, but in a deep sleep or in a unique condition, such as 7-Star Black Sect. They are an example of a super sect. Among the top experts in this sect, there might be one who has already reached such a level. An existence of such level is far too ancient. Even if you were to run into them, you might not know them. However, I'm different. Although I was a nonentity back during the war, I was in charge of gathering information. I know many super experts that were involved in the war, and I can recognize them for you. Then, when you wander on the battlefield, it could save you a lot of trouble. I know a lot of information about the war back then. Dao Yuanzi continued. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes after listening to Dao Yuanzi. King of Venomous Worms, what do you think? Jian Wushuang asked for King of Venomous Worms' opinion. Reverse space-time? Bring dead experts back to life? Hee, I have never heard of such a technique. This is most likely a lie. Even if it was true, the chances are slim, King of Venomous Worms said. However, there's something Dao Yuanzi said that is right. He is an ancient expert, and he is knowledgeable. Hence, he must know quite a bit of secret about ancient times. As for experts from ancient times, he isn't wrong either. The surrounding ancient battlefield is a great treasure. Such a huge treasure. You can't just let it sit in vain. You definitely must wander around. With Dao Yuanzi around, he could save you some unnecessary trouble and danger. Of course, only with the prerequisite that you could control him. If you can't control him, it would be a disaster to you and to the entire green fire world. Jian Wushuang was deep in thought. After a short while, Jian Wushuang made up his mind. Dao Yuanzi, do not resist. Jian Wushuang swept out his soul power over Dao Yuanzi. Dao Yuanzi wasn't angry, but thrilled. He naturally didn't resist. Very soon, Jian Wushuang left a soul stamp on Dao Yuanzi's soul fire. With the soul stamp, Jian Wushuang controlled Dao Yuanzi's life and death. Greetings, Master. Dao Yuanzi bowed politely at Jian Wushuang. Master, huh? Jian Wushuang smirked coldly. Then, Blood Mountain Sword turned into a lofty mountain. Master, what do you mean? Dao Yuanzi was shocked, but he couldn't resist. He was suppressed by the lofty mountain. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly. Dao Yuanzi thought I was stupid? He is an expert from ancient times. He could at least be a great emperor's match, or even beyond. Such an expert is powerful. He didn't have a choice, so he yields to me for now. But once he recovers his power gradually, he might be able to remove the soul stamp. By then, forget about controlling him. My life might be in danger too. Jian Wushuang wasn't sure if Dao Yuanzi had the power to remove his soul stamp, but he didn't dare to take the risk. Hence, even if Dao Yuanzi yielded to him, he would continue to suppress him. Unless there was a day when he could remove Dao Yuanzi's consciousness and soul control him. Just like Lei Chao back then. Lei Chao had been soul controlled, and he was pretty much dead. He listened to the instructions of the controller completely. Only then, Jian Wushuang would be at ease. At the same time, he would consider himself to have taken revenge for Yang Zishuan, Emperor Tang, and Emperor Shao. However, Dao Yuanzi was an ancient expert after all. His soul was extremely strong. It would be impossible if Jian Wushuang wanted to soul control him in a short time. Before I am able to soul control you, you'd better stay in Blood Mountain Sword. As for your power, humph, don't even think about it. Jian Wushuang sneered. He definitely wouldn't give Dao Yuanzi any chance to recover his power. Even if one day he were to be in danger, he would activate the soul stamp at the critical moment to kill Dao Yuanzi. Phew! A cold breeze howled. The entire universe went quiet. After Jian Wushuang had suppressed Dao Yuanzi, he turned and walked to people from Green Fire Palace. Everyone from Green Fire Palace was extremely excited. Their excitement was not only because Devil Church had been destroyed completely, but also because of Jian Wushuang's power. Too strong. From everyone's view, Jian Wushuang was too powerful. Jian Wushuang was Green Fire Palace's man, and he was truly a mainstay of Green Fire World. With the existence of such a superb expert, Green Fire World was lucky. Chapter 1803, Reformation. The Devil Church was destroyed. In just a few days' time, after the 13 Devil Bloods were massacred by Jian Wushuang, and the first Devil Blood, as well as Dao Yuanzi, were suppressed in the Blood Mountain Sword in succession, the Devil Church was destroyed completely. There was no room for them to struggle. After getting to know about this piece of news, the experts of all the powerhouses in the Green Fire World rejoiced at once. At the same time, a name which had long become a legend spread within the Green Fire World again. This name was Jian Wushuang. It was Jian Wushuang, who had disappeared after becoming a legend 50,000 years ago. At that time, he had returned again. As soon as he returned, he destroyed the Devil Church with lightning speed. Within the vast palace in the Green Fire Palace, many higher-ups of the Green Fire Palace had gathered. Moreover, the person sitting at the position at the front, which was also the most central position, was Jian Wushuang. Moreover, even his throne was bigger than those of other people. With regards to that, no one present had anything to say. At the throne, Jian Wushuang took out a Qian Kuan ring with a flip of his palm. This Qian Kuan ring contains some items that I have arranged, and it contains many guides starting from Tao Master to Heaven Master, Universe Master, Universe God, and to Real God. These guides are very detailed. As long as the conditions are met by following the guides, it will not be an issue for all of you to make a breakthrough to become a Universe God or a Real God. Apart from that, there are quite a number of training resources which include many cultivation techniques, secret skills, and rare books. In addition, there are some treasures which are of great help to the comprehension of doctrines and unique skills. Father, I will give this Qian Kuan ring to you. In the future, please lead everyone slowly and hand down your knowledge. Jian Wushuang handed the Qian Kuan ring over to Jian Nantian. Jian Nantian took the Qian Kuan ring, and his eyes glowed brilliantly. As for everyone in the area, all of them revealed a delightful expression. It should be known that in the current green fire world, in terms of training environment, it was not inferior to that of the 10 sanctuaries in the eternal chaotic world. In such a good environment, the green fire world would be able to produce many genius experts continuously. Moreover, the green fire world was beside a huge ancient battlefield which contained an infinite amount of opportunities. Hence, they could explore it. The environment and opportunities were already present. However, if the green fire world really wanted to grow, they still lacked one component, and that was guidance. In the green fire world, apart from Jian Wushuang, no other experts were born. Currently, the strongest person was Jian Nantian, who was merely a universe god of the second heaven. Moreover, it was extremely difficult for him to reach such a stage. After all, he had relied on himself to explore blindly. However, if there were a complete guide, then it would be completely different. With the combination of such a good environment as well as opportunities, the green fire world's speed of growth from then on would definitely be extremely shocking. It's a pity that I did not know that the green fire world had already undergone such a huge change. Hence, I did not prepare enough. If not, during my trip of returning here, I could still think of ways to get even more comprehensive guides. Moreover, it will not just be from universe gods to real gods. There will also be guides for void real gods to eternal real gods and then chaotic real gods. Furthermore, I might be able to obtain guides to become an almighty. On top of that, I might also be able to think of some ways to get many training resources that can assist all of you Jian Wushuang's side lightly with his current abilities. If he were willing to, it would be easy for him to create a big powerhouse easily by force. In addition, obtaining some complete guides to training as well as some training resources that acted as support or some places of opportunities that would be of great help to some geniuses would be possible as well. However, he did not prepare for it previously. However, there's no rush. After all, the green fire world has only changed for not too long. These guides that I have left behind should be enough for the experts of the green fire world to make a breakthrough, to become real gods successfully. As for the guides and resources after becoming a real god, after a real god has been born for real in the green fire world, I will return to the lineage of Star and get some of them from Hall Master Yuan. Jian Wushuang laughed. As for now, the Devil Church has been destroyed. Moreover, there are also no threats from experts from the powerhouses outside. As such, my green fire world will definitely enter a stage of high-speed growth. However, to allow them to grow, there definitely needs to be some form of competition. Hence, the Green Fire Palace, there must be some proper changes to it. Jian Wushuang tapped his chair, and his eyes looked down. The large number of experts present looked at one another. All of them roughly understood Jian Wushuang's intentions. Presently, The green fire world was completely different from the past. Jian Wushuang had seen the huge potential that the green fire world had. To Jian Wushuang, if the green fire world were to grow up completely, it might even have an opportunity to be a new cultivation sanctuary that was similar to the 10 sanctuaries of the eternal chaotic world. Of course, before that, there was still a long way to go. Moreover, if a powerhouse or a sect wished to grow, there should be some form of competition. This kind of competition was not just a competition against the outside. There must also be competition within them as well. Naturally, it was the same for the green fire world. Jian Wushuang's intentions were to split up the power within the green fire palace to become either many sects or powerhouses, and that they would compete against one another for resources. It was only with this that the green fire world would be able to grow at an even faster speed. Of course, no matter how great the competition for resources was, there would always be a premise, and that was the green fire world having absolute authority, just like the Sanctuary Alliance. On normal days, the Sanctuary Alliance would not care about the competition between its powerhouses. Even if a big powerhouse were to destroy another big powerhouse, they would not care about it. However, at the critical moment, with a word from the great emperors who were the higher-ups of the Sanctuary Alliance, all the powerhouses in the Sanctuary Alliance would unite as one to fight for the Sanctuary Alliance. What Jian Wushuang wanted was that he would transform the Green Fire Palace into a huge monster like the Sanctuary Alliance, so that the Green Fire world would achieve the greatest level of improvement and development over the long years. By using one word to summarize everything, he wanted reformations. Father, Boss Wang Yuan, I shall leave this matter to the both of you, Jian Wushuang said. No problem, Wang Yuan laughed. Jian Nantian also nodded his head. Before Jian Wushuang returned, Wang Yuan and Jian Nantian had always been the two people with the highest position in the Green Fire Palace. One of them was the #1 alchemist, and his elixirs had aided the breakthrough of many experts of the Green Fire Palace. As for the other person, he was the only universe god of the second heaven. With the two of them taking action, no one in the Green Fire Palace or even the whole Green Fire world would dare to go against them. In no time, the greatest scale of reformation in the Green Fire Palace and the whole Green Fire world began. Jian Wushuang had already stopped concerning himself with the reformation. He believed that his father and Wang Yuan would be able to take care of it well. On that very day, under the guidance of Palace Master Yun, Jian Wushuang came to a special space. In a dark void that was out of cultivation, there were only Jian Wushuang and Palace Master Yun. However, the front of the void that was out of cultivation was dusky. At the same time, there were also many light pearls. For the light pearls, every one of them was extremely important. It was because of the light pearls being joined together and that they were combined in a special way that they were able to cover the whole ancient battlefield. Moreover, they had also spread all the way to the Spacetime storm nearby, which was a giant formation, and the big formation was the Green Fire world's greatest power.